What's happening?
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Thanks for joining us for today's live stream as we unveil Path of Exile Crucible, which launches on April 7th on PC and Mac, and on April 12th on console. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your Sphinx wings. Speaking of live streams, this is our last dedicated Path of Exile 1 announcement stream for around 6 months. That's because our 3.22 expansion announcement will occur during the ExileCon livestream in late July. Set yourself a reminder to tune in, because we'll also be unveiling massive amounts of information about Path of Exile 2, including revealing the date that its beta will start. Okay, back to today's livestream.
Nice!
Here's what you can expect. We'll start with a trailer for Crucible, followed by a deep dive on the League itself. Then we'll cover this expansion's endgame improvements, including the introduction of Atlas gateways and revamps to both Breach and Abyss leagues. We'll discuss changes to Path of Exile's balance metagame, including changes to the passive skill tree, its masteries, an overhaul of the Saboteur and Pathfinder Ascendancy classes, 9 powerful new Val skills, and some of the new unique items you can build around. After that, we'll cover improvements to the Ruthless game mode and the League launch boss kill event, before diving into the new Supporter Pack series.
Wow.
The livestream will then conclude with a Q&A session between Ziggy D and me, where we'll answer questions from Twitch chat. After the livestream, we'll drop the full patch notes.
Again.
Let's get started with the trailer for Path of Exile Crucible.
Let's go!
Hail, one of many. Eons ago, my kind walked the molten surface of this world.
Okay, is that you?
Now, we seek a champion. You must endure the heat of the Crucible.
Oh, I like the music. The gong.
To forge weapons unlike any Raycast has ever seen.
What? Crucible passives. Okay.
Take up the power of the Titans and bring obliteration.
Titans. A new race? Whoa! Whoa. Is that a big ass minion? Oh, that's why they updated the Breach. Atlas Tree gateways. They reworked the path. Oh. They did Saboteur. I knew it. I knew they were gonna rework traps and mines. I knew it. The moment they memed about seismic trap, I knew it. I knew it. I knew they were gonna rework something. Jesus Lord. Okay. Interesting trailer. A lot less about the League.
In Path of Exile Crucible, you'll learn about an ancient race of titans who once shaped the primordial surface of Rayclust. In this league, you will earn the ability to forge their power onto your weapons. And what form does that power take? In an iconically Path of Exile way, it's the ability to imbue your weapons with their own passive skill trees.
Oh my god.
These Crucible trees can have quite an impact on your character build. For example, in addition to the regular mods on this bow, its Crucible tree grants additional physical damage, physical to chaos conversion, the Master Fletcher notable passive, improved grace effect, and level 10 lesser multiple projectiles. While this is certainly a decent tree to get, it's not even the maximum depth and could be even more optimized for your build. In order to forge these powerful trees onto your weapons, you'll need to complete Crucible encounters. There's one in each area. Each encounter takes place at a Crucible forge. As you approach the forge, you'll have the choice of which of your equipped weapons you want to focus on. This can include ones on your alternate weapon swap if you want to improve one you're not currently using.
Good.
After selecting a weapon, you channel it at the Crucible forge to spawn monsters. The longer you channel for, the more dangerous and rewarding the encounter becomes.
Ooh.
As you spawn additional monsters, they combine together to create larger and more fearsome foes that grant even more experience for your Crucible passive tree.
Monster fusing?
Being able to ramp up the difficulty of the encounters is a double-edged sword. While it gives you the opportunity to make rapid progress on your Crucible weapon crafting projects, it comes with significant risk to your character.
Jesus,
It's
that
easy
effect.
to accidentally overwhelm yourself and make an encounter that is too dangerous. Channel carefully and adapt to what your character is capable of. When you first find a weapon, it doesn't have a Crucible tree unlocked. Channeling that weapon at Crucible encounters will unlock and reveal its tree, as well as allocating the first skill. You
Fine.
can only allocate one skill at each tree depth, so you'll need to decide which path through the tree is best for your build.
Makes sense.
As you get deeper into a tree, more and more experience is required to unlock skills. The final depths can take quite an investment and can only be found rarely on endgame items, but also have some of the most powerful properties. For
Makes sense.
example, this wand has 2 depth 5 skills to choose from. One of them allows all damage from your Freezing Pulse and Eye of Winter skills to poison, and the other allows various brands to be attached to your Summoned Reaper. There are many such modifiers to skills that will enable very interesting build combinations. In
Okay.
addition to all types of weapons, shields can also be empowered with their own Crucible trees. Here's a relatively simple low-level example. It gets a bit crazier as you approach the endgame.
Yeah.
Speaking of the endgame, in endgame Crucible encounters, you'll occasionally find igneous geodes, currency items that can be cracked open to reveal a primeval remnant. This is a map-like item that grants access to the Forge of the Titans, the culmination of your Crucible journey. These primeval remnants always generate as rare items. Half of their mods are upsides and half are downsides. The upsides generally increase the rewards of the area or add special crafting options. For example, causing monsters to drop divination cards or magmatic ore, a form of tradable itemized Crucible tree experience. The downsides are quite punitive compared to most endgame maps.
Okay.
Ideally,
So we can
you want
trade
to
the
find
XP?
a primeval remnant that is really rewarding upsides alongside downsides you can handle. If you don't think you'll survive a visit to the Forge of the Titans, trade the remnant away to someone else and gamble on cracking open another geode. If you survive and manage to reach the end of the area, you'll find the aforementioned Forge, which allows you to merge Crucible trees on 2 items together.
Oh
The
my
way this
lord.
process works is that you provide 2 items of the same class. For example, a pair of bows, a pair of shields, or a pair of one-hand axes. One of these items will be melted down and applied to the other, which will keep its regular properties. Their Crucible trees will be merged together in an unpredictable way, taking elements of each one. This is a little reminiscent of how Recombinators applied to item mods, taking parts of each Crucible tree and merging them together, as well as randomly upgrading, downgrading, or mutating skills on the resultant tree. While this process can create some really powerful trees if you get skills you wanted from both items, it can also completely wreck your precious trees, so take care choosing which you risk combining.
Good
Also,
lord. That's
like
a ton of
Recombinators,
power.
there are ways to manipulate the system to improve your odds at getting certain outcomes. For example, any skills that have been allocated are more likely to show up in the resultant Crucible tree.
So you want to have both
By
trees
default,
fully
you can only
set
add
up.
Crucible trees to non-unique items. But it's possible to get a mod on the Forge of the Titans map that allows you to imbue a unique item with a Crucible tree, which can then be leveled up via regular Crucible encounters. To combine Crucible trees on unique items together, you'll want to find a crystalline geode and crack it open to reveal the secret higher level version of the Forge of the Titans. I probably shouldn't say too much about it, but it will let you do some interesting things with Crucible trees. There's an important thing to note about Crucible trees on unique weapons. In addition to being much harder to unlock, there's a special rule about how they can be combined. A unique weapon must be combined with another copy of the same unique weapon to merge their trees together.
Oh my god.
Because this destroys one copy, getting a good Crucible tree on a unique weapon makes it insanely valuable. It may also raise the trade value of all unique weapons by quite a lot, as players sacrifice them trying to create perfect Crucible trees. Occasionally, you'll find a Crucible passive skill tree with a special skill that indicates that the item will sell to vendors for a specific item in addition to its regular sale price.
What?
These vendor skills usually occur relatively deeply in the tree, so take some effort to allocate, but usually don't block skill choices you'd make when leveling the item up for use.
Divine
The
Warp?
presence of these skills presents you with an interesting choice about whether you want to use the item or sell it to a vendor, and whether you want to spend your Crucible experience either revealing new trees to hunt for good skills, leveling up items to use, or leveling up items to sell. Crucible also features its own unique items you can earn. For example, El Abin's Visage, a unique helmet, is special in that it's the only armor piece other than shields that can receive Crucible passive skill trees. Wearing it allows you to double down on certain properties that are only available through these trees. There are several other unique items exclusive to Crucible for you to discover in this league. Crucible is a dual combat crafting league with a focus on encounter difficulty scaling and deep weapon customization with a power level that we have never seen before.
Yep.
Without a doubt, some of Path of Exile's most powerful weapons will be forged in Crucible. We can't wait to see what you manage to create. Like all recent Path of Exile expansions, Crucible includes a lot of changes with the goal of improving Path of Exile's endgame. One area we wanted to address was mobility on the Atlas passive tree. Often, you'll find yourself in a situation where you want to specialize in leagues that are on entirely different sides of the Atlas tree. Or maybe you want to focus on the type of altar that isn't near the leagues you have picked. To solve this, Path of Exile Crucible introduces Atlas gateways. These are nodes that you can allocate on the Atlas tree that allow instant travel between two locations.
I love that
There
animation.
are 3 pairs of gateways, each allowing travel from the left side of the tree to the right side or vice versa. Each end of the gateway consumes 1 Atlas skill point to allocate, but will potentially save you large amounts of travel points.
Yeah, of course. Especially late on, right? The higher you go up on the tree.
In this expansion, we're targeting a couple of endgame leagues that have fallen behind other leagues on the Atlas tree. Let's start with Breach. In the live version of Path of Exile, there are 5 tiers of Breach Stone. In Path of Exile Crucible, we're raising the area levels of Breach Stones to a much higher baseline level. 81 for elemental ones, 82 for physical, and 83 for chaos. Now that the regular breach stones are much higher level, we have retired charged, enriched, and pure breach stones. They will be converted to regular ones. We have also changed how flawless breach stones are acquired. Previously, you could only get them from Maven invitations, but we prefer access to the hardest breach content to actually come from playing breach. Now there are 2 ways to get flawless breach stones, through blessings, which are now rarer as a result, and through a skill on the Atlas tree.
Wow.
We've also improved the pacing of breach encounters. Previously, breaches felt pretty good early on, but quickly tapered off in density to the point where you wanted to abandon the breach because it just felt like not enough monsters were spawning. Our changes now keep breaches feeling dense throughout, leaning more on the side of it feeling overwhelming towards the end of the breach. We have also reduced the duration of breaches so there is constant monster pressure and you can get on with your mapping sooner.
Good.
There are a whole bunch of other breach changes that you can read about in the patch notes, such as changes to the Betrayal Research Safehouse, Breach Scarabs, Breach Stones from Kirik missions, the Breach Harvest crafting option, the Fragment Stash tab, Divination cards, Breach unique items, Atlas passives, and so on. We're also revamping Abyss in a similar way. Abyssal Depths now always contain an Abyssal Lich. Previously, the prevailing gameplay was to check the loading screen art of an Abyssal Depths to see if it contained a Lich, and bail out if it didn't. Now, the Depths always contain a Lich, removing the need for this step. While the rate of encountering Abyssal Liches is unchanged, Abyssal Depths are rarer than before. However, Abysses now have a chance to spawn a Stygian Spire in place of their reward chest, which will drop all of the jewels and other items you'd normally receive, as well as a Stygian Vice.
Good.
In addition, you're guaranteed to always get a 4-hole Abyss alongside your Abyssal Depths. Previously, Abyssal Depths could only spawn immediately after a single Abyssal hole, which prevented you from getting full value from the Abyss. The Lightless Legion notable passive has been replaced with a new skill which grants Stygian Spires in your maps drop items with +1 to item level. This is intended to allow players to continue to be able to obtain item level 86 Stygian Vices and other base types as a reward for specializing in Abyss. The small passives leading up to this notable passive have also been replaced. We've done a balanced pass on Abyssal Lich encounters to make them more appropriately difficult relative to the current standard of endgame encounters. Abyss uniques have had some balanced attention also, and the details are in the patch notes. Overall, these changes should ensure you can play a wider variety of leagues in the endgame, both through being able to access them more easily and because Breach and Abyss now feel far more modern and competitive with other popular league content. A big goal of the Crucible expansion is to provide a lot of new ways to build characters and to breathe new life into older builds. To achieve this, we're doing 2 things. Firstly, we have created many more interesting options for one of Path of Exile's core build systems, the passive skill tree, by overhauling many of its masteries. Secondly, we have revamped 2 specific Ascendancy classes. As we reviewed the masteries on Path of Exile's passive skill tree, we realized that a lot of the choices were rather bland and could be a lot more exciting. We went through the masteries one by one and tried to come up with as many interesting stats as we could, ignoring what was currently there. Once we had a short list of high quality stats, we added in the existing ones that used to be on each mastery and picked the 6 best. All of the leftover ones have been saved for later or used in places like unique items. This process was performed on approximately half of the masteries on the tree, initially targeting the ones that needed the attention the most. Previously, some masteries only had 4 options, so we've tried to increase as many as possible to 6 options. We've also added a couple of new mastery types that we felt were missing. Let's look at an example, the life mastery choices. You can see some of the interesting new options, such as the ability to manipulate your low life and full life thresholds, which allows you to more effectively use the damage while on full life support gem and many unique items.
Damn.
Getting a large increase to maximum life when you have no life on your body armor not only works really well with a whole lot of unique items, but also opens up new prefix composition options for rare body armors. Here you can see the armor and energy shield mastery has more options available than before. The other thing we focused on with this one is tying the mechanics together better. Instead of some being about armor and some being about energy shield, we've tried to make sure each really emphasizes having both armor and energy shield. On the Leech Mastery, we've combined the 3 increased life mana and energy shield recovery stats into one choice that affects all of them. The space we've freed up has been used to add some powerful new options, such as a portion of your Leech applying instantly. The Spell Suppression Mastery also has many interesting options.
Yes.
Your chance to suppress spell damage becoming lucky is extremely useful before you've optimized your gear and haven't reached 100% yet. The third option rewards you for stacking more than 100% spell suppression, which previously had few benefits. Now it's something you can plan your itemization around.
Lucky suppress
While
spell
looking at
damage.
masteries, we noted that there were some mechanics that didn't have enough passive tree support, so we decided to add some more options and passive skill choices for those mechanics. We also wanted to grant more access to certain types of masteries in specific parts of the passive skill tree. For example, in order to allow more access to the attack mastery, we've added an attack cluster by the Templar and one between the Ranger and Shadow. We wanted to create more access to other forms of recovery such as regen and recoup, so we've added some new passive skill clusters. Note that there is now a new mastery called Recovery. We've also added more capacity for investment in certain mechanics that we felt could be improved, such as link skills, stun mitigation, and marks. These mastery improvements and passive tree changes are just some of the ones introduced in Path of Exile Crucible. We look forward to your feedback on the rest when you check out the passive skill tree next week.
Ooh, it takes
While
for an
going
additional
through
projectile.
ascendancy classes, we identified 2 that needed work,
Wow.
the Saboteur and the Pathfinder. Both have been significantly changed in Path of Exile Crucible. These changes reinforce their respective identities while adding some new options to build around. The Saboteur is definitely the ascendancy class most aligned with traps and mines, but the old version of the Saboteur made it difficult to play anything but traps or mines. The new version has more builds available, including a whole new specialization, triggers. There are 2 notable passives that help with this.
Wait.
Like Clockwork grants you the increased cooldown recovery rate stat, which is a pretty rare one. This is great for triggered spells as it indirectly increases their damage. This notable also makes your enemies have longer cooldowns, which can be useful in certain boss fights, for example causing the Maven's memory game to occur less often.
Yo, we playing cock.
The Perfect Crime notable passive summons 2 trigger bots, which override the location of where a triggered spell is being cast, and instead causes it to trigger twice, once from each of their locations.
Wait, what? Oh my
The layout
lord.
for the Saboteur's trap and mine ascendancy passives has changed, so that there aren't separate 4-pointers for traps and mines. Now each one has a 2-pointer that is connected to the same shared 4-pointer.
Nice.
We have also completely reworked Bomb Specialist to be specifically tied to area damage, so it's a slightly more general skill. It both gives you some area damage as well as some defense against incoming area damage against you. The Pathfinder has been overdue for some attention, especially with recent features such as concoction skills that she could get the ability to specialize in. We also wanted the Flask-themed Ascendancy to have a proactive way of improving Life Flask usage. Master Distiller allows you to turn most of your skills into concoction-like effects. Master Surgeon now effectively gives all of your Life Flasks the Enduring effect, previously only found on Mana Flasks. Finally, both of the major Flask-themed branches now have some form of Flask Charge recovery. There are other improvements to the Pathfinder Ascendancy, such as Nature's Reprisal, now interacting with Wither to improve all forms of your chaos damage, rather than just attack forms of it. Check out the full details in the patch notes that we'll be posting after the livestream.
So every skill can now be a flask skill?
Path of Exile Crucible introduces 9 new Val skills.
Okay.
Last expansion, there was an emphasis on melee Val skills. In Crucible, we're making sure that many other types of builds get new skills to build around. Val skills let us introduce quite powerful effects that we couldn't normally give to a regular skill that can be used constantly. They also implicitly act as a buff to the underlying skill. Val Absolution upgrades one of your Sentinels of Absolution into an Apparition of Innocence. You can only have one apparition at once, but just check out these massive AoE skills it uses.
Jesus.
Val Arctic Armor instantly encases you in ice, preventing non-instant actions including movement, but granting massive damage reduction against hits. After a short duration, it also starts to regenerate your energy shield and mana at a fast rate. Both the damage reduction and regeneration last for a few seconds, or until you have been hit 3 times.
Okay.
It cannot be manually cancelled. Because the skill is instant, it's a great emergency button against dangerous boss slams. It also makes you count as being frozen, despite Arctic Armor normally making you freeze immune. Having another way to self-freeze may be of interest to a few mad scientist build creators in the community. Val Lightning Arrow fires a barrage of piercing projectiles that cause lightning to strike nearby targets whenever they hit an enemy.
What the heck is
After
happening?
a short amount of time, or when they collide with terrain, the arrows randomly change direction and continue flying. This occurs a number of times before the arrows expire.
What is this Val
Each
skill?
arrow can hit the same target once per redirect.
Oh my lord.
Because the arrows travel for a set time before redirecting, rather than a set distance, projectile speed modifiers affect the distance traveled. High projectile speed lets you clear out huge areas with them, while reducing your projectile speed increases the chance of them hitting the same target multiple times.
Okay.
With very low projectile speed, the skill can hit a single target 20 plus times.
Okay.
Val Reap conjures a ring of scythes that deal damage to all enemies in a circular area. The scythes leave behind a pool of blood that deals heavy physical damage over time to enemies standing in it, and for a short duration after they leave it. Val Reap instantly grants a large number of the blood charges used by normal Reap on use, as well as temporarily higher maximum blood charge capacity, substantially powering up the regular version of the skill. Path of Exile Crucible introduces 5 other Val skills we'll reveal over the next week. Val Animate Weapon, Val Domination, Val Ice Shot, Val Rejuvenation Totem, and Val Firestorm.
Val Rejuvenation Totem.
This expansion also introduces more than 10 new unique items.
WH
There are 3 in
Omega Lol?
particular I'd like to show you today. Blood Price is a
Okay.
unique helmet that has a new effect, reserving enemy maximum life. This does exactly what it implies, causing nearby enemies to start at 92% maximum life. While this increases your clear speed against all enemies, it's especially useful against bosses.
What?
The helmet's drawback is that it reduces your maximum life, but provides decent life regeneration and block and stun recovery to counteract this. Tainted Pact is an amulet that causes chaos damage over time to heal you while you're leeching life. While the amulet provides a decent amount of life leech itself, it'll certainly require a few tricks to unlock its full potential. Widow Hail is a unique bow that is different from any other bow in Path of Exile. As a weapon, it does basically no base damage and doesn't grant any stats of its own,
Sounds
but
good.
it does dramatically increase the power of mods provided by your quiver. Needless to say, this could produce some pretty ridiculous outcomes with good rare or unique quivers.
Wait,
We'll
200,
reveal some of the other new
225% increased bonuses. Does this work with...
Ruthless is a game mode that
projectiles?
we released alongside the Sanctum expansion late last year. It's designed around extreme item scarcity and is challenging because you're constantly behind the item power curve. So far it has found a very passionate audience of players who love how rewarding item drops feel in such an austere environment. We have some small improvements to Ruthless and Path of Exile Crucible. Firstly, Eternal Orbs are back in Ruthless. These are an extremely powerful currency item that allows you to imprint an item and restore it if you're unhappy with the result of crafting.
What?
We disabled these game-wide 7 years ago because they were far too powerful when combined with all of the different crafting options Path of Exile offered at the time. Ruthless does not have the base game's crafting feature set, so we have enabled Eternal Orbs to drop in Ruthless, albeit extremely rarely. Ruthless now has its own set of challenges to complete. Like the ones in early Path of Exile, there were a total of 8, and they're very difficult. Like we've done in the past, we're hosting a boss kill event at the start of the Crucible Challenge League.
Okay.
It'll be held in Ruthless Hardcore Solo Self-Found and will require you to kill both the Uber Searing Exarch and the Uber Eater of Worlds, making it by far the hardest event we have ever run. The first place winner will get to work with our design team to add a new unique item to Path of Exile.
Again?
They'll also receive a transferable Ultra VIP ticket to ExileCon in July.
Ooh.
If they aren't able to attend or already have a ticket, then they are allowed to sell this one as they see fit. Second and third place finishers will receive a transferable VIP ticket to ExileCon that can also be sold at their discretion. If you'd like to enter the event, just create a character in Ruthless Hardcore Solo Self-Found on launch day. Best of luck to everyone.
Nice.
On the weekend of July 29 to 30 New Zealand time, which is July 28 to 29 for much of the rest of the world, we're going to be hosting ExileCon 2023 in Auckland, New Zealand. While tickets to the in-person event are very hard to get, we'll be streaming the entire event for free. At ExileCon, we'll reveal our latest updates on Path of Exile 2, Path of Exile Mobile, and the next Path of Exile 1 expansion. Make a note in your calendar, tell your friends, and don't miss it. The second day of the Path of Exile livestream culminates in a competitive race event between some of Path of Exile's best players.
Nice.
In order to select the 4 competitors, we're going to run qualifier events during the months of April and May. The winner of each event will receive a VIP ExileCon ticket, return flights to Auckland and accommodation, and will compete in the race event live on stage. All 4 qualifiers in the final event will be run on the 3.21 version of Path of Exile, which has received a fair amount of early game balance work that will change the racing meta quite a lot. You'll be able to read more in the patch notes. Once 3.21 releases next week, you'll be able to solve the new meta, practice hard, compete in the qualifier events, and hopefully win your place on stage in July. Alongside Path of Exile Crucible, we're introducing a few new types of microtransactions. An example I wanted to describe today is that of mannequins. These are hideout decorations that you can place to show off sets of microtransactions you have assembled.
Oh!
You can equip them with your spare micros and pose them in various ways.
Cool!
It's also possible to swap your entire outfit with a mannequin's one, which lets you easily store micro sets to be retrieved later.
Oh, thank God. Yep, yep!
Other new microtransactions coming up include wrapping paper, which lets you gift wrap items to hand to other players, or even drop in town for random people to pick up.
Okay.
Today we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Lithomancer and Enchanter packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value and points, alongside several exclusive
Everyone's just gonna throw stuff in town.
These
around.
packs are only available for the duration of the Crucible League, and will leave the store forever when it ends. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Lithomancer series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Tunnel Bear isn't just adorable, he will also take the place of the Crawler in Delves, lighting your surroundings and laying down cables.
Oh my God.
Apparently, this is what happens when your bear gets into a kilo of sulfite. Might explain what happened to Nico. The Ring of the Demon Slayer attempts to exorcise rare and unique demons when you hit them. The souls of defeated demons are banished to the depths below.
Huh. Interesting effect.
The ancient stone of the Lithomancer's armor set crumbles when you take damage, revealing the crimson core inside. The stone reforms if you haven't taken damage recently.
Nice.
A sip from the ancestral granite flask causes a Kurui ancestor to appear and surround you in protective wards.
Alright. Very anime.
The ancestral portal encases you in molten armor when you travel through it. The summoned Kurui ancestor rallies you to battle and honestly seems to have an unhealthy obsession with combat.
Go forth and conquer.
Ever want to practice running away from volatiles?
Pretty
The gunpowder foot attachment straps explosives to your legs, dispersing lit gunpowder behind you. Be careful, you can only outrun it for so long before it catches up. The Enchanter Pack series also has 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Parrot of Exile pet parrots your exile. We'll just let it speak for itself.
It would be wrong to do that here.
Wrong. I need more mana.
Oh my God,
Drinking from
what
the
is this
bottle storm
meme
jade flask
pet?
encases you in a surging tornado, churning up the ground in your wake. If you stand perfectly still while wearing the enchanted armor set, it will attract butterflies to flutter around you.
But they gave us a
Careful not to
parrot,
disturb them.
but not a toucan?
Sick of high-fiving giant purple appendages? The Ritualist's Breach Ring visually transforms breaches you find into occult summoning circles.
Jesus.
The Enchanter's Crafting Bench replaces the normal crafting bench in your hideout with a suite of tools fit for a master artisan.
Oh,
The various crafting stations burst into life as you use them.
that is sexy.
If you've ever wanted to remind your character who's really in charge, the Puppeteer's back attachment has you covered. It truly is the sinister presence pulling the strings.
Oh
These
my.
new packs are available
How
right now
annoying
at
was that to
pathofexile.com/purchase.
animate? That hand.
Purchases like these directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile 1 and 2. Meanwhile, the Forge and Gemling packs leave the store forever at the launch of the Crucible League, so now's your last chance to purchase them. Thank you for your continued support. We're about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. After that, we'll post the full patch notes for Path of Exile Crucible.
Oh my.
As we approach release next week, our community team will post Crucible's challenges, information on how to update your item filters, more skill gem details, and information on how to prepare for Crucible's launch. On release weekend, we expect to launch the new mystery box and this season's Kerrick's Vault Pass, which can be purchased with points and has a new free track available. Thanks for joining the stream today and checking out Path of Exile Crucible. We can't wait to forge some powerful weapons with you next week. The Q&A will start shortly, so please get your questions ready.
You can buy the Kyrix Vault Pass with points now? Instead of money? Meaning you double dip your points. Do you know what that means? That means you buy a supporter pack, get points, and you can use those points to buy Keurig. That is awesome. I mean, we already can double dip, but now you can double dip the Kyrix Vault Pass as well. Keep in mind, that literally means they make less money with the Kyrix Vault Pass. That's what that means for them, financially, right? No heckin' company would be like, oh, less money? Less money sounds poggers. Like, no. But they're like, no, we want to give people, you know, the way, like another way to get Kyrix Vault Pass instead of spending more money. Awesome. Sorry, also I really wanted to try a bow build for the first time ever because of that new unique bow. Interesting. Awesome. I'm shocked. Again, you know. 4 months of development. This is like half the entire game, it feels like sometimes, right? Like, insane. I'm actually scared of the patch notes. And I'm definitely gonna use the new Bing to give me a recap of the patch notes. Just give me a breakdown, because I don't know if I have enough energy to read. It's gonna be long. I tell you that. The patch notes are gonna be long, my guy. Like 200 of that bow for the perfect skill. Yeah, it's actually gonna... Dude, it's so insane. They give us so much power. Do you understand how much power that is? The skill tree on an item. That's it. That's it. What the fuck? My God. I'm so hypers. Hypers. Dude, there's a hypers emo. I'm just saying. No, yeah, it's insane. Like this insane amount of power added to every item potentially, right? That's insane. And potentially, I mean, there's one problem, and I'm pretty sure the filter won't show that, but I already see one issue, and it's fine and it's not fine to a degree, because you will have to pick up every rare item now, see if you can craft it, because it may have to sell for an additional divine, right? It's like, oh my God, right? You can't probably just look that up through the filter, which would be amazing. So, yeah. We'll see how that happens. But, on the other side, they also told us you can sell the XP in form of these new ores, right? They're tradable. So, or I don't know if the ores are tradable or... No, there are these special forge areas that have a chance to drop the ore, which then can... There's so much. There's so much. Bro, I already lost like 50%. It's oh my God. It's just... Seriously, and that's why you don't need any other game that Path of Exile sometimes. Like, literally. Like, it's insane. Also, do you understand? Like, it's also insane that you need the same unique item, right? To combine it together. It's what the fuck is happening? Oh my God, I gotta be some gamblers, boys. Dude, that will make the prices of certain uniques whack. Bro, if you find that one unique with the right forge skill thingy, brother. Holy moly, suddenly a 6-link Chevron's wrappings is 17 divines or some crazy stuff, probably, right? Probably not 17, right? But I can easily imagine, like, double the price, right? It's crazy. Also, I had some nuts stuck in my teeth the entire time. Just as a quick side note. That's gonna be interesting. I love these Q&As, because Chris is just down to earth, memeing around, and also just, like, super knowledgeable, and just... And also chat matters, right? Like, chat can ask questions, and Siggy will ask them. Most of them, or some of them at least. So it's like... It's like you don't need to wait a next week, or 2 days, or 5 days, or 8 days. Like, it's just... Chris is like, oh yeah, that's like that. It's so good. I guess I'll have to try. You know what I just realized? I need to try to make the background animation. It's not super complex, I think. I'll try. I'll try to make that in DaVinci Resolve. It may be possible. Last league I tried to make the you know, the piece of paper and that had like this glowing effect going through it. I was really close, but it just didn't look right. So yeah, that's what I tried. Couldn't make it happen. And you also can't really like Google that stuff, right? That's really knowledge. That's the knowledge you have with the tool you're working with. To kind of be like, oh yeah, if you combine this and that, and just this is the output, and boom, done. Oh boy, it's gonna be quite the... Wait, until July that is, right? Wait a second. We have April, May, June, July. Hello. That Discord sound. Nice.
G'day Exiles, Ziggy here. Welcome back. I'm joined here once again by Chris Wilson.
See
How you going?
you on time,
Chris.
Going well, thanks. Thanks for hosting.
That was a pretty spicy, hot reveal stream. The final one before ExileCon, and the last reveal apart from ExileCon's reveal for PoE1 potentially?
Yeah, well, we'll be having basically during the keynote for ExileCon, obviously we'll be dumping all the juicy Path of Exile 2 info, but after that we'll have essentially the Path of Exile 1 322 expansion livestream taking place from the main stage there.
The ending of an era. It's kind of bittersweet. A decade of Path of Exile action at this point coming to a close, but moving into Path of Exile 2, obviously very exciting. So we won't be probing into that too much here because that is for ExileCon. So for now, Let's talk a bit about Crucible. Has there been any reference to Titans and this very early stage of Rayclestian history before now, or is this kind of new ground that you folks are exploring this time around?
We like to come up with a mixture of taking something that's referenced and then expanding on it. And I don't want to spoil too much of the investigation of where this is referenced in the game, but we recommend looking into the Red Blade Warbands faction. That's a good breadcrumb place to pick up.
The lore experts can begin their investigations there. So the main
the
feature,
Warbands. Do you know how long that has been?
The power that it's offering players here. How much power is there in Crucible, and are there any drawbacks to that power?
Well, you can definitely view this as pretty strict power creep on weapons, let's just say that. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there haven't been Path of Exile weapons this powerful before. So you're not sacrificing anything by having a weapon tree on the weapon, it's just purely upside. But many of the individual skills do come with their own downsides, and you can choose whether to allocate those or not. And so on a weapon by weapon and skill by skill basis, you're definitely going to have to make decisions about what's best for your build.
When it comes to designing like power that has drawbacks versus doesn't have drawbacks, how do you decide which route to go?
We feel that having hard decisions about weapons and build choices and skill use is really interesting. It causes you to have to adjust your build around drawbacks. We don't really want to make a game where you linearly just get the ability to kill monsters more quickly without having to think. We like the idea of finding a choice you can make where you're like, like this will increase my power, but I have to work around something else. Like potentially there's a skill that increases your fire damage, but makes it so that you have slightly lower fire resistance. Not a large drawback to work around, but it pauses you for a second and causes you to think, where can I get the resistance elsewhere? Now, I want to emphasize, many of the skills here don't have drawbacks. This isn't like, say, Scourge, where there's a corresponding drawback to every single one. It's just the case that for the powerful ones, we've put drawbacks on them so that there's a decision that you have to make. And it's typically the ones near the end of the trees that have the drawbacks, so they don't really block your choices very much early on.
Yeah, it
Kind of
feels
makes
like
sense also with the
a
whole
a big
theming,
difference
right?
compared to Scourge in that regard. But I've always thought power creep is good when it's interesting, when it offers you like different decisions and an interesting extra layer of customization. Do you have any more like most ridiculously powerful Crucible trees or nodes that you've seen in testing so far?
There are some pretty cool combos. For example, if you found a skill that dramatically increases your cast speed at the cost of lowering your damage, then you may want to use, say, Summon Raging Spirits, because then your increased cast speed means you're casting way more of them, doing a lot more damage, and the decrease to your damage doesn't affect the damage of your Raging Spirits, so in that case you completely bypass that drawback and get something that's better value.
Huh.
We've also got some quite interesting conditional skills. Ones like, there's one I believe that grants movement speed if your dexterity is lower than 100. And so if you're able to make a build that doesn't have 100 dexterity, like for example, you're just pure intelligence or pure strength, then you can easily take advantage of just a free movement speed boost.
That's nice.
I wonder what the option is for low int characters. Could something like this ever go core in Path of Exile, or is it just too powerful? Like it seems, I look at this and I think, no way is that going core.
We intentionally do not have any discussions internally about whether something's going core until we've let people actually play the league and get some feedback on it. Because
Okay.
it's premature if we think, yeah, this can go core, and then everyone hates it, or vice versa,
Yeah.
then that's an issue. So we throw it out there, see what people think. When we do integrate leagues with the base game, we typically do make changes to make them appropriate for integration. Like, one of the many topics for this coming year is what are we doing about Sanctum, for example? And certainly there's discussion there about how we would make Sanctum appropriate for base game integration if it is going core.
With these items having these Crucible trees and everything, maybe the league doesn't go core, but these will go to standard in some capacity. Will they work in standard? How will that work?
They will work in standard, yes.
Ooh.
So you can rip them from hardcore to standard right away.
Yeah, it's gonna be good fun.
It's worth noting you can't level them up or allocate nodes any further in standard. Like, you probably want to get the tree allocated correctly before you do ref it to standard. But yeah, you can use those skills over there.
I imagine there's a lot of experimentation as well, because you potentially want to, like, looking at the end game of this is to level up multiple different weapons, selecting the best nodes, and then combining them together until you get like a blend of your perfect ideal nodes. And I imagine that could take a while to get the perfect one.
Certainly, yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff that can happen that we learned from recombinators. So there's quite a big grind to get perfect stuff, and then when you're looking at it on uniques, for example, the grind is even larger. Like, we're really excited to some extent about how the concept of, let's say you want to have a like Starforge or something that's got the best tree on it. How would you actually do that? And it requires quite a concerted effort from most of the community of online players to achieve that, but possible.
Now, can you respec or change those Crucible node allocations?
No.
Yeah, if a skill has been allocated, like as in you've chosen the skill, you've got all the experience towards it, you're gaining the benefit from it and so on, then you can scour it with an orb of scouring. So that will unallocate that last node there. And then for the ones that you're working towards that you haven't allocated yet, you can instead retarget the effects, the efforts of the next Crucible encounter you do towards a different node. And I wish I had a graph up so I could demonstrate it. But essentially, if I'm halfway through leveling up to one of the two choices I have at a certain intersection, and I instead want to work towards the other one, I can just freely swap across. And once it's allocated, I have to use a scour to undo it and get that experience back.
Excellent, that makes sense. Are the nodes available on two-handed weapons more powerful than one-handed weapons? Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I was just doing a quick dev check to make sure I wasn't making that up. Yeah, nodes on two-handed weapons are more powerful than one-handed weapons. You could think of it as, broadly speaking, if you have
I don't have the
two-handed
dev check
weapon, you're
anymore,
getting
I'm
the same
sorry.
rough power that you would from having a one-handed weapon dual-wielded or with a shield.
Certainly makes sense. And that kind of like feeds into the next question. Like, quivers aren't craftable because a bow is a two-hander and gets that power level, I assume.
Correct. Yeah, we had the choice there of, do we want a bow to be balanced like a one-hand weapon or balanced like a two-hand weapon? And we thought, well, probably balance it like a two-hand weapon and just ignore quivers.
Yeah.
It means that we can double down on having powerful bow effects, and players only have to, in that case, craft a tree on one item.
That's a good
Did
point.
you ever feel like maybe we should give a special exemption to face breakers and similar items that have you not equip a weapon?
It's been discussed, but there's We don't want to have a philosophy that every Path of Exile league must work on literally 100% of builds to its fullest potential, because
Yeah.
that really constrains us to really watered down leagues. So in a
Mm.
case here where a Facebreaker character potentially just doesn't get a boost like the other characters do, I mean, they can still play just like they could last league, it's that they're not getting to enjoy the the main hand weapon damage they're getting from this. They can obviously still craft a shield or various unique items.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can craft
Now,
face breaker,
Crucible's
right?
like these passives specific to weapon types.
Crucible
I assume
craft.
bows and melee weapons will have different nodes because they
Forge.
want different things. But what about like swords compared to axes, or minion ones compared to non-minion ones?
Yeah, so essentially weapon types do have mod restrictions. So the examples you give are reasonable. The bows and melee weapons have different ones. Minion ones, caster ones, bows all have their own special passives. I believe in Path of Exile there isn't a lot of direct difference between swords and axes that would cause there to be many skill differences here. So those ones are very similar.
Hey, I got
but
the drop,
we have
boys.
tried to make sure it's all sensible. You're not going to get
Let's
stuff on a
go.
weapon that's irrelevant to that weapon.
Great.
Free
Will that
drop.
unique Crucible helmet, the Elabin's Visage, just have a mixture of everything, or how does that work?
That one gets shield ones.
Oh, okay. So shield probably, I assume, then has a more defensive oriented.
Yeah, I believe that it gets shield ones, but it can't give you like static local block and various other bits and pieces that wouldn't work very well.
Now, on unique items, once you add a Crucible tree to a unique item in the Primeval Remnant map, can you progress the tree and unlock nodes in regular Crucible content encounter, or do you have to keep doing the maps?
You can unlock nodes the regular way. So basically, doing that map, if you get the mod on it that enables you to put a Crucible tree on a unique, and I should add that's a moderately common mod, but certainly requires you to get lucky and get it, then you've kind of unlocked the ability for that unique to then have a tree that's explorable. At that point, you can then just go back to regular content in your regular endgame maps and level it up. It's only when you need to get a second copy of that unique unlocked and or do combining that you need to go back to the Primeval Remnant maps.
Okay.
Now, viewers are always looking for clever ways around the system. I saw one that was if you take a item that already has a Crucible tree and chance it into a unique, does that bypass the Primeval map requirement? Or are you locked from doing that?
It does.
Oh, okay, there you go. Chance orbs going up.
Any solution here that involves more gambling from the players is happy with us.
Okay. Now we have some chat questions
Spamming
on these
chance
topics
orbs,
as
boys.
well. So Crucible interaction with mirrored and corrupted items. Can you do anything with those, or are they locked out?
Okay, so there's some fun stuff you can do in the higher tier version of the endgame map, the one that's really hard to get. And an example here, and we don't want to spoil too much, but an example, I believe, is that there is a mod which enables you to use, is it a mod or a base property?
It's a mod on the map item.
Right, a mod on the map item that enables you to interact with corrupted items, for example. And so there are exceptions that you can bypass. I still believe you cannot do anything with mirrored items, right?
No, but if you mirror an item, it copies the tree.
Yeah, so mirroring an item does copy the tree, but once you've got the item mirrored, it's unmodifiable.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, will you? This is a question I think for Ruthless.
Might make
Will you
sense
be able to
lore-wise,
imprint
right?
Crucible trees?
Like Lake of Kalandra is like highest tier, and then it's like, wow.
Yes, I don't see why not.
But what?
All right.
I missed it.
Will Dancing Dervish benefit from the passive tree while the item is disabled? This is kind of feeds into questions like about energy blades and things like that as well, where you've got weird contextual changes in how a weapon is used and classified.
We certainly had bugs related to putting energy blades in the Crucible. That was a fun time. Yeah,
Always.
that was pretty-
Always.
Energy bites doesn't work. I'm not sure about it.
Yeah. We'll have to look into it. I mean, I'm certain the QA team have gone through everything and fixed it all, but that wasn't percolated up to me. But we'll make sure the sensible outcome applies.
Talking now about trade a bit, how will trading items with Crucible trees work? Will you be able to search for nodes on the trade site?
We are trying to get that functionality, but it's worth noting the way that this works is the trade site is put together by one of our staff members who's very busy, and he only gets the copy of the league to go and do the trade site stuff like yesterday kind of situation. So he has a week to get Crucible support working, and so we're working on it. It's difficult in this case. We normally can easily within a week sort out any itemization stuff that came from a league, and in this case it's quite complicated, as you can imagine. So we have no promises there, but yeah, of course we wanted to work on the trade site. And it's worth noting we do have an API, so if the public want to take the API and implement it better than us or faster than us, they're welcome to do so. But in the meantime, yeah, we'll try to get it up, and we want it so that people can easily identify certain nodes and trade for the items and My expectation is that it will probably be straightforward to find items with a specific node, but doing complicated searches involving combinations of nodes and other stuff
Oh, no.
will certainly not be possible
No.
initially. And so I think that the worst case scenario is players are going to be able to find a bunch of items with a node that they're looking for
Yeah.
and then manually examine them to work out which one they actually want to trade
That's
for.
fine.
And that's not a terrible compromise. In fact, it's
No.
personally how I prefer it to work, so the trade is a bit sticky.
Yeah.
I know.
That's absolutely fine.
That poor developer, though.
I mean, I definitely want to
imagine
see
this
the
is
tree,
quite
though,
nightmare
on the
the
trade
web-
website, right?
web
That would be
dev
cool.
front, but I hope they take our energy and Path of Building also take our energy. Now, magmatic ore was something that was kind of just subtly referenced in there. It was said to be a way of having tradable, itemized Crucible tree experiences. Hilarious comment. Can you tell us anything more about what these are and what they do?
Right, so it's Crucible Tree experience rather than experiences, which means you gain experience for the tree that you've got. So you consume the magmatic ore, and it levels up your item as though you'd done encounters. And so it's worth noting, this is not meant to be the efficient way to level up items, right? It's
Yeah.
certainly not the case that people are going to bypass the encounters and just go and trade for these and they never have to actually play. This is a really inefficient way of doing it, but it is possible. If you're currency rich and time poor and need to find a way to get that last bit of experience, then this is a way to do that. It's kind of like a Facetor's Lens being a single use item that grants the experience. And I suspect that, it's obviously going to be priced in the economy based on how useful it is, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be the primary way that you level these items up.
Right, gotcha.
I mean, if you do enough damage
I
and you
feel like
fully charge
if
up
there's a
every
way of
Crucible
efficiently
in every map.
playing the game by not playing the game, someone will figure it out. in
Yeah,
general.
it's dangerous for us to add, but we do like the idea of a limited amount of tradability here, and there's various ways to get it as well, which is interesting. Like there's sell nodes on the trees, as we call them, the ones that you can vend. You can vend the item to get some. There's mods on the endgame maps, and it helps a bit because when we were designing the endgame map, we didn't want the individual monsters you're fighting there to work towards leveling up a Crucible item when you're already expected to bring multiple Crucible items in with you in order to combine the trees together.
Right. Those nodes that allow you to vendor items for different rewards, it's a clever solution to the problem of why engage with the mechanic if you don't have an item that you actively want to forge right now. So how often do you find these nodes, and are they always substantial rewards, or are they some smaller ones as well, like a few Alks or a Chaos Orb?
It's worth noting, we believe that people always will have items they want to forge, and the goal of these vendor nodes is to tempt them away from that. Like at any stage, you could be working towards making the best item on the realm, but instead, oh, there's a divine orb if I just sink in a bunch of encounters into getting that. And so it's a job well done of these nodes if you are sitting there getting, currency rather than actually making the most broken items. Having said that, we suspect people will work out the value of the broken items and realize those are worth going for. In terms of how often you find them, they're mostly in the end game, and they're not too common. Like, you're not going to be sitting there with a stash full of them trying to, just swim in currency. But at the same time, you'll probably have access if you need one and you don't have a thing you particularly want to focus on at the moment. It's just so encounters don't feel entirely wasted. There are also some cool little tricks and combos that we're
so you could have
into,
two
but it's worth
items
having a
that
look
give
at
you a
that.
divine orb if you sell them.
In terms
like
of
in the
what types
second
of currency,
weapon slots.
it's
right?
various currency, starting at mid-tier stuff. If you do find things like Chaos Orbs, they'll be in larger quantity, and you'll have to do the math of basically how much experience am I getting versus what the currency payoff is versus what other opportunities I have for my time at the moment. And, it'll be straightforward to work out which ones you're wanting to do and which ones you're wanting to trade away.
On the maps side of thing, how rare are those like geodes that you can crack to get those maps, the like endgame content of this?
So there's two tiers, and it's worth noting the acquisition here is subtly different than the way we normally do these maps. Like, these are always rare, and they come through this stacked deck like currency item, which is the geode that you crack open. And because it comes through the currency item, your ability to find rare items doesn't affect the rate that you find these. Like, you're getting just currency essentially to get them. And then there's the unwrapping experience of seeing what the mods are on it. Now, the lower tier one is something you'll certainly play in maps often, right? Like, it's, you're not finding it every map. Maybe you're not even finding it every 4 or 5 maps, but you are finding it pretty commonly. So you're getting a lot of access to combining trees together. The higher tier one, on the other hand, is harder to get because that lets you do some really interesting stuff. So that one is certainly pitched quite a lot rarer than the first one.
And you're being pretty coy on these maps and what they entail and what the higher version does now.
And this is for a few reasons, right? Like, first of all the rates I'm talking about here, like, they're changing in this last week. This last week is the point where we massage it from being this works and is cool into a fine machine that works perfectly with the right, economic implications and so on. We're starting the alpha shortly. Like, in 10 minutes kind of thing. And that's going to give us really good feedback there. We've got a week of iteration now that everything is working and great, and so things will change. There will be more mods added, there'll be mods removed. And so if I go into too much detail of listing every mod, it's just going to be wrong a week from now when we've had time to really hone
Yeah,
it.
it doesn't really matter. We're gonna
Fair
play it
enough.
anyways in a
Let's talk a
week.
bit about the challenge of this league. So,
Mm-hmm.
the longer you channel the Crucible Forge in a map encounter, the more dangerous it becomes. What makes the monsters dangerous here?
So as you channel it, more monsters are spawned, and they combine into larger, more impactful monsters. So
Oh.
higher tier monsters here, we've got an internal tiering system. The higher tier monsters are generally more likely to be magic, rare, or unique. And the longer you channel, the more damage and damage reduction every monster gets.
Okay.
Also, more difficult encounters are more rewarding. So generally speaking, play the hardest encounters you can. But it's worth noting, and this is an interesting question, everyone comes up with, is there a button I can click to bypass the channeling and just have the hardest difficulty encounter, right? Fair enough, no one likes having to wait a few seconds, but it's worth noting the hardest difficulty encounter will probably smear you to the wall. We want, and this may be wishful thinking because some Path of Exile players are very capable, but we're trying very hard to make it so that the highest difficulty encounters are significantly harder than League content that you may have accidentally run into in the past.
They
Now, of course,
probably
you don't need to
want the
max it
whole
out like that.
expedition
Maybe
problem
only do
again.
that if you have ridiculous twink items or something. We are also trying to signal this in the UI. This wasn't shown in the video, but we are having kind of like a temperature concept where the harder it's getting, the more you see the UI getting a bit angry at you. And so you know, I can generally handle about this amount of difficulty, and you've got an idea of where your character falls on the scale. You're certainly going to want to go as hard as you can, but our goal here when designing these risk versus reward leagues is to kill your character. We want to set it up so you overcommit and get nothing, because that way you'll learn your abilities and it's a little less gifty than if we just had every encounter succeedable.
Yeah.
It's like Metamorph all over again with players putting sticks in their own front tires and being like, oh no, why have I crashed? Oh. Cool.
Yes.
On that note, then, what happens if you fail the Crucible encounter? Is there some risk reward aspect here, just outside of dying?
You only get the Crucible tree experience if you complete the encounter, but your item is not at risk. We went moderately safe with that. So essentially, if you make an encounter that's too hard, you might lose experience on your main character or lose your hardcore character or something if you die. But realistically, the only thing you're practically missing out on is finishing the encounter to get the experience.
That's fine.
Now, I noticed on the Primeval Remnant map teaser, there was a mod, players cannot suppress spell damage. I know the intention is to make these maps very challenging, but how do you approach making monsters harder versus disabling aspects of builds or hampering the player when it comes to designing difficulty?
Good point.
So the mods on the maps are meant to be very dangerous. Like, we picked mods here that are like
question.
Expedition Remnants almost. Like, we want something that's very challenging. But you get fewer of them than on a regular map because half of them are upsides. So 6 modded map here has 3 upsides, 3 downsides. And the downside ones, some of them will raise the difficulty of the monsters, usually by a bunch, and some of them will hamper your build's defenses or potentially make your build not work in the map. But it's worth noting that stuff like spell suppression is more of a hampering your defenses than saying you can't kill monsters. So certainly going into a no spell suppression map when you rely on it takes away one of your defensive attributes. Like, be careful about that. But it's not necessarily completely breaking it for you. You're going to have to make decisions about which to play. And we strongly prefer that way of designing it. If we have to make it so that every map is playable and every character without really imposing any difficulty, then it just becomes a bit of mush. And so in this case, you will occasionally open a geode, look forward to doing the map, and realize it's better for your friend to do it, and maybe you'll trade with one that you can do. And if you're playing an SSF and don't have the ability to trade, then you just have to make decisions about whether you run it or don't run it as the other option, or run it carefully, or make another character and play that character in that map to get value from it, and so on and so on.
All right. I always have to ask, party play, how does it work in Crucible?
So it fully works in a party. Everyone gets experience.
Ooh.
Nice.
Basically, you must channel an item at the encounter at least a little bit to be rewarded for it. So there's the molten circle, as you've seen, and basically the players step inside and you choose an item and channel it. And all the channeling makes the encounter harder and more rewarding and so on. And as long as you've contributed at least a second of channeling or whatever, you're going to be taking part in it. Once anyone who is channeled steps outside of the molten ring, a countdown starts which will trigger the encounter. And it's worth noting that throughout maps, that means you can fully engage with these without any problem or loss. Like, sure, maybe, some annoying party member will make the encounter way too hard for everyone, but they have the ability to do that elsewhere in the game too. In endgame maps, each map only allows the map owner to use its crafting benches. So 1 geode equals 1 map equals 1 craft. You can bring your friends, they can get stuff from it, but they can't use that craft unless they contributed the map.
Okay.
Some more questions from chat.
fair.
How does item level and map tier affect Crucible? Can I quarry farm item level 86 weapons, they ask?
All right.
The low level areas have way less Crucible experience.
So low-level areas give quite a lot less Crucible experience. There's an exponential curve on that to encourage you. Like, if you're playing somewhere 10 levels under you, you're certainly going to have a much better time just doing it in the maps that you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Any other aspects that are worth mentioning?
Item level affects how much experience it requires to level up.
That's true. So the item level does affect experience costs for hitting certain skills. And of course, I believe that certain skills are gated behind certain levels as well, right? You really do want to be playing higher level stuff. Like maybe there's some niche
Makes sense.
place where you can get access to a certain skill and it isn't too expensive to get it and you can quarry farm more efficiently, but you're kind of wasting your time doing that compared to just playing the maps that in an old version of Path of Exile, where map scarcity was more of a thing, like in, say, Ruthless, where it's actually hard to play maps because it economically destroys you to play too many, then fair enough, quarry farming might be a more reasonable strategy. But I think that in contemporary mainline Path of Exile, you're wasting your time if you're spending too long in the quarry here.
Yeah.
Now, the mobs that you spawn with the channeling of the Crucible, are these different to normal mobs, or are they enhanced versions of regular mobs? And either way, are they something that you can turn into a Spectre, for example? Summoner players would like to know.
There's a few questions there. So they are actually themed around the properties of the item, which is interesting. Like there's a light correlation between what you've got on the item you're channeling. There's some subtlety here, but they are special. And in general, for these leagues, we try to draw monsters from the pool that are in the area, or at least, the models of those monsters, just for memory reasons and so on. Is there anything else that's special about these monsters here, aside from the fact that they're quite a lot harder if you make it?
That's actually really cool. So if you have a chaos weapon, it will spawn enemies that deal
so
chaos.
all Spectrable all have new skills. There is essentially a separate set of Crucible monsters.
None of that is what I expected.
I actually personally underestimated how important new monsters are for league design. Like we've done a lot of these leagues, like 38 or 39, and if you sat me in a room alone without any other devs and got me to list what goes into a league, I'd forget new monsters. But a lot of people here realize it's critical to have it so the texture of the moment-to-moment combat with monsters does feel different than the rest of the game in a league, and so that's been quite interesting. As something that it honestly took me a lot of years of development of Path of Exile before I realized how important that was.
You said the modifiers on the item affect what monsters spawn. That's such a clever nuance.
Tree modifiers, like
Okay,
the tree that you're leveling up.
Cool.
You'll see what we mean. It's not a big deal. It's just cute.
I mean, that's what I mean.
Oh,
That's
the
really
tree
cute. It's a
of
cute
the item,
detail
not
and
the item
nuance
modifier.
that I wouldn't
Okay.
have expected. Neat.
I know we're rushed to make these.
Wait, that's even
expansions in the
worse.
cycle time we have, but we do get time to
The
finish.
tree gives you
details, and
+1
interestingly, this
projectile.
cycle has
Every
been
enemy has
17
no
weeks,
+1
so we've had a
projectile.
few extra
Holy
weeks
fuck.
to get it right, and yeah, I don't mean to prematurely curse anything, but we're actually looking at a pretty good place quality-wise. Like the number of issues we have open in our tracker and the stress on the team is significantly lower than it has been at various points. Like I think yesterday, when we were at the point where we would in the past have had 250 open issues, we're at like 87 by my count. And so, I'm not seeing overtime being done outside of a little bit of preparation for the live stream the last few evenings. And so that's looking pretty good. I think that, like the Incursion launch, we're going to be hitting it with a bit of time to spare and make sure everything's good.
Nice.
That's excellent to hear. And details like that, nuances like that as well. I think they really add to the flavor of it. This weapon that you've been working on for a while is going to feel different to craft than a different weapon in a subtle way that you might not even put your finger on. And that's quite cool. So let's move on to a league revamps topic now. So the breach revamp, I feel, is actually a really clever way of dealing with the issue of old content bloat, or of the game being too overwhelming for new players. Revamp older content.
That's a good point. I
shift
didn't
up to
even
a
think
higher
about that,
level where it's discovered later and less likely to overwhelm those newer players. Now, was this the intention here, or just a happy side effect?
It's a happy side effect, but one that we definitely acknowledge. So the basic way that the breach revamp happened was we started by saying, man, there are a lot of splinters in Breach, and it feels crap to click on every splinter, and they kind of are worthless because you're working towards a Breach Stone when you pick up a bunch of them, and that Breach Stone is going to be lower level than you are right now. You're not going to care about that Breach Stone. You're going to want to upgrade it multiple times before you can run it. So how do we fix this? We thought, wouldn't it be cool if splinters were rarer, so they're impactful and there's less clicks, and they actually led to something immediately good? And so we realized, oh look, let's take Breach Stones and just bump them up a bunch of levels and basically make Breach Stones themselves valuable, because in their current form it's based around an old version of Path of Exile. And then we realized we can just remove 3 tiers of Breach Stones in this case, and we just cascaded the chain of tidy ups from there until eventually Breach is pitched at way more impactful, tighter than before, higher power level, more valuable splinters, and that's where we ended up.
We used to have to do things like click breach hands in the thick of combat and like pick up those kind of scattered drops afterwards.
Yes, you do. And we think that clicking chests during the hectic combat with the chests vanish at the end is actually part of the fun of Breach. Like, here is a glimpse into another world where monsters are rushing in from all directions. What can you get? Can you kill them in time? Can you get the chests? Blah, blah, blah. It's part of the challenge of the short flash encounter here is to get as many items you can through whatever means. And so we didn't want to make it so it automatically gives you your entitlement of chest items at the end. Now, picking up scattered items is annoying. I get that, right? There's no, this is not an intentional thing that we're trying to make the player have to run around afterwards and look to see if stuff drops. But we didn't find any good solutions that solved all cases, right? Like, during this process, there wasn't an easy way of sorting that out that fit in with the other changes we're making. But we're going to keep an eye out on feedback. It's certainly something we're open to changing in the future if we find a good solution.
I feel like Atlas passive skill tree would be perfect for that.
I don't really have any specific
A
questions
button that
about
says
that one. Maybe chat will. But can
like
we hope to see similar
bulk
quality passes
items
on more
until
delicate
it
things in
drops
the
a
future,
breach
like, for
throw,
example,
instead of
Harbinger, maybe?
3 splinter
Yeah,
here and
it's
there.
very likely.
Just
No
bulk it in the
promises, though, on
background of the
when,
system
like,
for me.
For 322, we haven't scoped out what in-game improvements are looking like yet, so it could well include Harbinger, or definitely not, and we don't know yet.
And back to that kind of initial question, which was the idea of like content bloat or things being a bit overwhelming for new players. Is this something that you guys recognize as a major issue, especially in the lead up to Path of Exile 2 with a bunch of new players on the way potentially?
We're always aware of the fact that Path of Exile is a complicated game with a lot of stuff going on, and your point about raising the level of Breach to take it away from, your introduction to maps is very valid. It becomes a thing where you know Path of Exile pretty well by the point that it's introduced, and it's difficult towing the line between how to describe this. It's difficult towing the line between lots of content being available and content being introduced at a slow pace. One of our competitive advantages versus other action RPGs is the fact we have a vast library of old content that's fleshed out.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, that can be a problem because for new players, when they have to understand 20 complicated systems or 50 complicated systems, it's sometimes easier to play other games that require less learning. So we're trying to make sure that many of these do actually feel pretty optional and you get them, it's no problem for them to learn how Breach works several weeks into playing potentially.
Yeah. I feel like most content is
optional.
optional.
People are also asking if there's any news on Ultimatum.
If you're in trade.
We have mentioned in the past that we have a plan for Ultimatum. That plan is definitely still happening, but not part of 321.
Fair enough. I'll just check every time until. Yeah. Maybe it'll be announced at ExileCon.
Maybe.
Okay.
I wonder if there's like a small team working on it.
It got hit pretty bad due to the removal of +1 monster level watchstones. This is a question from chat.
It hasn't been discussed yet, but as I mentioned, we haven't worked out the next set of endgame improvements, so fair enough. It'll be on the list to look at.
Is there any plans to change Blight Atlas Tree notables? Half of them are there to guarantee Blight events when there's already Sextants and Scarabs.
We actually did a pretty deep look at Blight on the Atlas Tree a few months ago, and there were some inconsistencies we wanted to tidy up. Again, I can't promise that's in scope for 322, but yeah, it certainly is something that we probably need to evaluate.
All right. Talking a bit about now masteries and ascendancies, as there's some pretty big announcements there. One in particular that like really impressed me was the life mastery that gives 15% life if your body armor has no life on it. That kind of feels like a game changer in some ways. Body armor has always had really fierce competition, and whether something has life or not is a big part of the like evaluation there. So I really like this design overall.
Wait a second, that's amazing for tabula rasa.
10% increased life, and I imagine that might feel like a bit of a bummer if you want to use one of those.
Well, in that case, you save yourself a passive point, and you get to, go pick a different mastery, and there are some powerful ones to pick instead. We're not intending to go and remove life off those because of the presence of the mastery. That'll make it feel pretty mandatory.
That'd be such a funny way to solve that problem.
Yes.
Fine then, no life. Now this consolation style design that like makes up for a shortfall feels like kind of new ground here, and it might have some potential use cases in other areas. Like for example, the idea of 20% increased movement speed if your boots don't have movement speed. Is this something you'd consider expanding out in other areas?
It's currently just on the life mastery. I mean, we've got other interesting new designs on the other masteries, of course, and it is a possibility for later, but we want to be careful with this one because like in the boots case, for example, I worry that soon you'd pick, the masteries that make your gear good, and then it doesn't really matter what your items are, as long as you, for the love of God, don't roll that movement speed or life. And that's kind of against most of how people are trained to create items in Path of Exile. So we're experimenting with body armors, with life, but other things follow normal rules for a while.
Yeah, it is. It does seem kind of like an experimental thing because you're right. Like it could go the other way to what you want, where it's like warping perceptions of items in unpleasant ways potentially.
Yeah.
So interesting. I'll be keen to see how this one goes then. A lot of the other masteries look really impactful as well. I was pretty surprised to see instant leech after that being such an issue in the past. For example, a lot of people have been hoping for like a meta shakeup in terms of changing skills specifically, but here we're getting like a bunch of new Val skills obviously have an impact, and then like all of these masteries and passive changes and stuff like that. Now, what factors kind of go into deciding whether you want to rebalance a skill or the other things like gear and passives around a build, rather?
So regarding the meta shakeup, we could at any point go and pick a bunch of skills and alter their damage values and so on. And we've done that in the past, and
Sure.
it hasn't really been as impactful as we wanted. Often, what will happen if we buff things that are underused is people don't immediately notice, and then a while later someone stumbles across it, and that doesn't immediately cause the feeling of a new meta that people wanted. It feels like the same meta even though there's stuff they haven't found. And so we wanted to try in this case leaving the skills alone for the most part. I mean, there's skill balance. You'll read it in the patch notes in a little while. But for the most part, a lot of the changes come from the fact that broadly, many of the masteries have been changed. 2 specific ascendancies have been changed. You've got a lot of new Val skills for many, many different builds.
Yep.
And the masteries in particular have a big impact here because they're right in your face when you're doing your tree planning. You certainly see all of these interesting new ways of building. Like an example is, let's look at stun for a second, right? Previously, everything to do with stun in the game was about how do I make it happen less and how do I have it affect my character less, right? Shorter stuns less frequently. There's stun stuff now, which encourages you to get stunned if you want to build that way. There's a passive that gives you adrenaline for like 2 seconds per 100 milliseconds of stun, I think. Is that right? Yeah. So if you can find a way of having 350 milliseconds of stun inflicted on you every 7 seconds, then you've got adrenaline permanently. And sure, that may not even be a good build, but it's a build you could do. And so we're trying with these masteries to cause people to completely rethink how they interact with these mechanics.
That's good.
To answer your question, though, about how what factors decide whether we rebalance a skill or other things, we haven't done a Passover mastery since they were first released, and so they weren't what we would call like modernized. And so before we go and just tweak numbers on a skill, we want to make sure that the supporting systems have been modernized. Like the breach thing, for example, which
masteries
is a
are
meta change.
over a year old now.
That had been a while before it had been
Insane.
modernized, and so it's sitting there just kind of out of whack with the rest of the game. It's not worth running until now. And so we wanted to make sure the masteries were really good scaffolding for builds before we went to tweak individual numbers.
Very cool. I wanted to deep dive a little bit into the design theory behind Saboteur. So I was pretty initially skeptical of the idea of like adding nodes that aren't about traps or mines, the core identity there. But those trigger bots look pretty awesome. Kind of changed my mind a little bit. They're quite unique. How do you go about making sure that the rest of an ascendancy feels up to the task and has some choices for players to make? So, for example, you've got
what is this in the
Prime,
background?
the bots, and like Clockwork, the cooldowns. Both are really
Is that
great. And then
thing
you've got
just
some other
move?
more contextual nodes in Explosives at Work, Expert, and Bomb Specialist. Those are like limited to crit or cold AoE builds, for example. But they're still potentially usable. But then everything else is traps and mines, that core identity. There's like such a big divide between the two play styles there that there's not really any overlap in the nodes. So you potentially run into an issue where when you do something like this, you have no real choices to make because all of them are, you've only got the choices that make sense for the build and the others are completely irrelevant. So that feels like a potentially a little bit one-dimensional for Path of Exile. So kind of how do you get to this point?
There's been a lot of iteration of a Saboteur, including recently. Like, we had a version in the live stream that we're ready to prepare, we're confident in, and we're good to go. And there was enough internal kind of, it might be perceived as a nerf going on that we went and changed it further, made sure that it was, we were much more comfortable with it, added more. Did we add entire nodes to it? Or we literally added a node to it to make sure that there was more choice and that it worked better. Refilmed the sections of the live stream, got me back in the recording studio to do the voiceover of that, and updated the live stream at the last minute because we want to make sure that the different builds work. And The Saboteur is a little bit of a different experience than before because it now has these other options. But it also, and most importantly, is not the only way to play traps and mines. Our goal here is that if the word trap or mine comes up in your build guide, it doesn't 100% have an association with Saboteur. There are trap and mine builds with other ascendancies now. Like with Necromancer, how if you want to use minions, it's possible to come up with minion builds that are on a different ascendancy. And so the Saboteur is the obvious place to go for easy access to trap and mine power, as well as like trigger stuff, right? It's the first point of call, but it certainly isn't the final point of call for people who want to do some really wacky stuff.
Yeah, and
Yep.
that kind of like raises a good counterpoint, which is like, while there might not be a bunch of different choices for trigger builds in Saboteur besides the ones laid out, you have all of the other classes to decide. So picking Saboteur in the first place is that choice. So
Yes.
that, and
Those-
fun new playstyles added.
The trigger bots are pretty OP.
They look awesome. So cool. Does the new passive reworks to the two new classes
trigger
affect
bots are kinda
Ascendant
insane.
at all?
Did we change the Ascendant?
Yes, we did.
Yep. That's cool. I
Awesome.
didn't know that. Good work. Yes, we have.
Good job, background devs.
I want to look at that now.
Do you folks plan on changing passives around the tree or just the masteries that are changing?
Yeah, there are passives that have changed around the tree,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, there's new clusters, and I mean the patch notes, which will be posted as soon as we stop talking, have all the details. But it was mentioned in the live stream too, just in passing.
Yep.
You know, like how I mentioned early game balance changes, and then everyone comes to me and says, "Why are you not talking about the early game balance changes at the live stream?"
Yeah,
sure.
there was life
deal.
recovery clusters. There was a few new clusters scattered around to increase access to masteries, and there was +1 projectiles.
Yep.
Yep.
So that was pretty spicy.
That's cluster. Yep. That's the one I remember. The +1 fucking projectile.
Here's a question about
on the
Sab.
skill
If
tree.
Salvo trigger bots trigger your spells on them,
Which is
do those
actually
trigger
really
bots
smart,
cost mana to
'cause it-
trigger?
Tells the player,
Because
oh,
those
there's
spells cost
yeah.
mana.
I can have
Like
more
regular
projectiles.
triggering, right?
Sweet.
Yeah, it's just like regular triggering. The difference is there are two trigger bots. They run at the enemies like you'd expect. It triggers from both of them, and instead of just purely doubling your damage and moving it onto the enemies, there is this minor damage penalty so that it's not quite, literally double damage. But still, obviously, is a big boost.
Yeah, of course.
Let's talk about a couple other random questions.
It's also a little bit more
You mentioned a
coverage,
fair amount of early
potentially.
game changes that changed the racing meta, though this is the sort of thing that affects everyone. So what sort of early game changes can we expect? And by the way, Bex, let's flip something involving support gems. Sorry.
Yeah. So we actually have another whole skill gem and 3 support gems that we didn't even talk about in the live stream. It's 1 main skill and 3 supports, right, guys? Snipe, Mana Forged Arrows, Prismatic Burst, Momentum, I think. Yeah. So it's interesting how this happens, really, but we ummed and ahed about what to do about the ExileCon races for so long, right? Because we didn't want to just say, oh, look, it's the same Katava kill as last time, go. Because then we get exactly the same race with exactly the same racers, and it's just a repeat of the 2019 event. But at the same time, when we looked at other wacky races we could do, they didn't feel like Path of Exile. Like, Path of Exile racing is a celebration of how quickly can you play through the game without wacky mods involved. And so people, when we asked them what they liked about watching the races at ExileCon, was the fact that the races are doing everything that the normal players are doing just so well. Like, they're just so optimized with their stuff. So we wanted to make sure they were playing true Path of Exile. The problem is true Path of Exile is more or less pretty similar to what it was in 2019. So we said, well, what if the racing strategy is different? What if we just went and improved the early game in a way that doesn't have significant impact on the actual meta of the late game, and just did a whole bunch of tidy up in ways that really affect races? And that way, the racers can play 321, which is released in a week. We'll do all the qualifiers during 321, and that's also the version of Path of Exile that's live at ExileCon, because 322 is coming out a couple of weeks after ExileCon. So it perfectly fits a consistent set of balance that we can keep the same for fairness.
Very
so
nice.
many changes were made, and this involved some pretty radical stuff. Controversially, and this is explained better in the patch notes, we've removed the Onslaught support gem from early game situations. There's honestly, the patch notes do a much better job than I do of explaining it, but in return, other gems have been introduced which achieve similar goals to it. And so I'd recommend reading the patch notes for the full detail, but there are several new gems which do affect in-game builds, and that they're now options you have available. The favorite one that I was reading about recently was this cool, like, semi-active, semi-support gem, which is called Snipe, which our internal description that has probably been improved since this was written was channel to charge up your bow, gaining stages. Release to trigger 1 linked bow skill for each stage gained. And a few other caveats.
Whoa.
And so basically you can channel and then release a bunch of bow skills at the same time. So cool stuff like that has come out of this. And yeah, it's, balance changes. There's going to be some nerfs
Damn.
in there. There's going to be some buffs, but they do not have a large impact on endgame Path of Exile. So when reading the patch notes, take it with a bit of a grain of salt at the fact this is aimed at the early game.
Huh.
This is interesting because, like, in the past, the idea was talked about.
By the way,
having,
there's
like,
already
some
a snipe
skills
skill,
that were
by the
like
way.
the low level ones, and then potentially would transition them out
It's just
of it.
from
But
a
it's not
unique
something
element.
that's really true to Path of Exile very often. Like most of the time, most things that you can use in early game are end game viable as well. So this is kind of more a design of having some things that potentially are very early game and not really necessarily intended for late game.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll explore like skills more in that realm in the future as well? And is that, I don't know, something that Path of Exile 2 will feature more?
Well, Path of Exile 2 gives us an opportunity to somewhat tidy up what skills there are, and we're moving things around between levels and basically having a chance to, because it's a game that obviously involves many changes, having a chance to actually review stuff. So that helps with us working out what are the early and high versions of things. Obviously, we can make those changes in current Path of Exile 1. It's just that it comes at a cost where we take something and break it for high levels or take it away from early levels and suddenly build, say, hey, I was using that. And, there's certainly a live cost to that.
Yeah.
Now I see a few things come up in chat repeatedly, so I'll touch on those. Some other Ascendancy players. What was that?
I was asking, they want us to log in.
That's certainly that. There's a few other Ascendancy
Log
players
in.
who want reassurance that their Ascendancy will be addressed. I see Gladiator mentioned a lot.
Yeah, we could list the 17 Ascendancies. We don't yet know which ones are coming. Shall I tell a story? Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. Sorry, everyone who's on patch notes. We're getting story time instead. We wanted to nerf all the Ascendancies and Ruthless for power reasons. And so we looked into what that would involve. Pretty quick numeric nerfs. And while doing so, we came up with a whole bunch of new interesting stats. And we said, okay, well, we cannot release these stats in just Ruthless, right? Because that would be crazy. The community who already have low patience for any Ruthless stuff that we do would certainly find it unfair that we gave Ruthless a bunch of new interesting tools alongside a pile of nerfs. So we said, why don't we change all the ascendancies in the core game to use these new stats as well? Not nerfing them, just making them like we've done with the Pathfinder and the Saboteur here. And so we started on that. And the plan was to do about half the ascendancies in 321, and then also do all the Ruthless ones at the same time, figuring that's fair because there's enough stuff given to the base game.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we didn't get it to a state where it would actually be releasable. Many of those ascendancies were going well, but they weren't quite finished. The internal feedback was to the point where it felt a little bit like a nerf in some cases, or it felt too much like a buff, or we weren't quite there, and we obviously can't release it unless we've had time. So then we had a situation where we're really happy with the Pathfinder and Saboteur. They're going great, and all the Ruthless ones are sitting there with new stats on them. And so we intentionally undid all the Ruthless changes there to stop there being an outcry, and so that we get more time to sit on it and work out what we're doing in the base game. And so the intention is that we do have stockpiled a large number of ascendancy changes from when we get time to do it properly, which hopefully will include many in 322. And we just have to work out politically what we do with said Ruthless changes, because I would love to release them. I mean, they're not quite ready. Like, I'm not saying we want permission to put them in 321, but we're at some stage likely to debut that set of stuff because we do feel the power level of ascendancies and Ruthless is too high relative to items. And so, long story short, in answer to the question of when do the other ascendancy classes get some love, the love is half done. And so, yeah, it's coming.
The political intricacies at play here.
Yeah, it's just, the problem is, like, while this expansion ended up with a lot of balance changes, and we're not worried about that, there was a time period when we hadn't piled in so many balance changes where it looked like half the work went towards Ruthless. And that's not a good look, because it's done for the purpose of the core game. It's just if you release it in Ruthless first, you just upset everyone for no reason. And so there's a bit of politics with that, but at the same time, we definitely want to make sure that all the players feel equally valued.
That's fair.
Since you brought it up, let's chat Ruthless a little bit briefly. Will it have its own unique cosmetic rewards now that it's getting challenges? And if so, how many?
It has the same cosmetic rewards as the base game. This is another case here of trying to go for fairness. You can either earn the cool armor set by playing regular Path of Exile or by playing Ruthless. I don't know which is easier. There are fewer challenges in Ruthless, but it's quite hard to do those in Ruthless. So, yeah, it's difficult to say. I recommend working out what your capabilities are and doing it in that mode. And there is a different totem flag. So if you do complete the challenges in Ruthless and in the base game, you technically get 2 hideout totems to show that you did.
Okay.
A bunch of people have had a chance to play Ruthless and try it out. There's been some discussion of the difficulty and whether it's a fun type of difficulty or rather where it's just slower. How do you feel about the initial version of how it's played out and the types of challenge that it offers?
We really like it internally. It emphasizes how fun items can be to find when you're desperately craving upgrades. Like, I get that it's not for everyone, they don't have to play it, but it's an experience of overcoming scarcity and feeling every upgrade to your character that we think is a really valuable thing. And what's interesting is some people, when playing it, say, to be honest, regular Path of Exile, like baseline Path of Exile that a new player installs, could actually be Ruthless, and they might have a better time than the overcrowded, very complicated mainline version that we currently have. Now, we don't plan to make that change where we swap them around, just in terms of what the new player experience people get, but it is true that if you're sitting someone down for the first time, they get a bit more of a meaningful and less complicated experience playing in that mode.
That's true.
Having said that, it's still an experiment, it's still a passion project that we're tinkering away with, but it also educates us a lot on the appropriate balance for item mods and how, like the fact that Eternal Orbs could come back, for example, is a realization we made that was actually pretty cool. And looking at the consequences of the different types of crafting and how they interact has been very instrumental for us. And this is all important because we have to get this stuff right with the upcoming Path of Exile 2 balance, right? We have to make sure the Path of Exile 2 is balanced as a great game from the start.
It's almost like it's a useful dev tool more than anything in that regard.
Yeah, and there's a growing community of people enjoying it, which is why we've got the boss kill race happening in Ruthless. I know that'll be controversial to some players who don't particularly want to play it, but they weren't going to win that race anyway, right? Like the people who are going to win that race know why we're putting it in Ruthless.
Oh no. Damn.
We also don't know if it even is winnable. Like, to emphasize here, Ruthless, Solo Self-Found, Hardcore, both pinnacle bosses. Right? That's hard.
Yeah.
There's a ticking clock before those ExileCon tickets aren't valid anymore, right? The event.
It would take me that entire time to get there, that's for sure. For my own experience,
Or it's gonna be
a lot of
December
the
before I
early
get
game
to
feelings I had
Uber
echoed
pinnacle
what you were
bosses.
talking about with like the changes were very effective in making you really like feel gear upgrades and think about how you play your character, and those sorts of challenge changes were really effective. For me though, where it fell apart was actually at that end game, where the scarcity, the economy, and the map drops were so slow that even when I felt ready, I couldn't really progress in endgame at what I felt like it was a reasonable pace. Even dedicating the entirety of my currency supply towards maps, I was still kind of blanking and dropping back down to low white tier maps. And I've seen plenty of people break through this wall, so it's certainly possible, but it is slow and it bears mentioning, I think. How do you feel about like the end game progression there?
So we've made some adjustments to this in 3.21, but we don't want to overshoot the mark. Like, we don't want to just dramatically swing something in a way that makes maps sustain too easy. It is intentional that maintaining the highest maps requires significant economic sacrifice in Ruthless, which, as you say, some people can break through, but it's essentially the case that you almost have to just pay, a very high price to be playing red maps repeatedly. And that's in the right direction for Ruthless, and we do want it to be a little more accessible than it currently is. So I'm hoping the changes on 3.21 do help a bit there, but we'll keep nudging it. We just don't want to accidentally get it to the point where everyone's got expectations of sitting in red maps like they do in the base game.
All right, so potentially some smaller changes there, fine-tuning things out. The Atlas tree is different in Ruthless. Chat wants to know if we'll be getting gateways there as well.
Yep.
Cool. Very nice. We have a random eclectic mix of chat questions now. So I'm just going to jump straight into these. I have not seen what they are yet, so let's have a go. Lucky Dip. Do we need to equip the weapon to level it in Crucible, or can we use any weapon in our inventory?
It has to be equipped, but it can be on your weapon swap. The intention here is that you can't be playing, say, a bow character and have some really high level wand that you're necessarily working on without sacrifice. You are making things for you. And this is also so that you're guaranteed to be carrying the item around with you. You're not having to sacrifice inventory space for it. There's a bunch of things that went into that decision, but essentially, yeah, stick the item on your weapon swap if it's not the primary one you're currently using.
Yep.
Does that work if the item's disabled? Because you can do some stuff where you like put an Astramentus on and then equip the item and then take the Astramentus off and it goes red, but it's still equipped.
We'll find out.
Okay. Now chat's just doing the classic Q&A thing where they're spamming melee ? Like there's a question there. You do know that questions involve a few more words than that usually, but maybe that's enough for you to work off. Melee?
So in the last expansion, we intentionally introduced a large number of Val skills and some other melee changes. And so the intention with the melee Val skills was to raise the power level of all of those skills because periodically you get to play them in God mode for a few seconds. And we haven't made as many melee changes in this particular release here, and that's partly because there are, the other 90% of players also would like balance changes. So we definitely have it on the radar to keep an eye on, but there's nothing else in 321 apart from what you'll see in the patch notes rather soon.
Yep. So advanced skills and masteries and a couple fine tunes here. So have a read in a second when I stop talking. What happens if you animate a weapon with a Crucible tree? Whoa.
It works.
Oh,
Do you expect
level.
less from Path of Exile?
No, I expected it to work actually. Yeah, I'm impressed because I imagine there's some complicated things there. But
I shouldn't have done a dev check there. I should have eye contact with the camera. It works, and then quickly, they scurry to make it work.
Even things that like allocate passives, does that work? Because they don't have a passive tree, right? Surely those don't work.
There's the ones that make sense for it to work will work, but I don't think. Oh, like Master Fletcher, for example, right?
Oh. It should work.
It should work. Like, at the end of the day, right? Animated Guardians and animated weapons are just, like, entities that get stats, right? Like, if you give an animated weapon +1 arrows or something, it's going to fire +1 arrows, like a monster would, like the player would.
Yeah, but you're giving it a passive that then gives the +1 arrows. That implies they have a passive tree. Does that imply they have a soul?
Oh, it's technically that we're not giving it the passive. We're giving it the stat and we're calling it the passive.
we don't
We're getting into, like, internals here. Maybe we are.
Prometheus.
Anyway, we're fine. It'll work.
Do animate guardians have souls?
That raises ethical questions.
Oh god, okay.
Let's just ask Gassy.
Does things like pack size?
He lost a few souls there.
Map modifiers will in general.
I'm
right?
sorry, I had to.
So here's an interesting one. The items that are shown in the live stream do include pack size on those the rare maps there, and that doesn't affect the. So
Yeah, so in the in-game area, pack size doesn't exist. In regular maps, pack size does influence the value of the monsters being spawned.
right, okay, yep. So the bit I was getting at was more of a side point, which is that pack size doesn't exist on the end game maps that the Crucible specific ones. The pictures on the live stream do show it. That's because we hadn't removed it at that stage, and this is because it had no way of really juicing up the size of the encounters you're finding there. So we went with quantum rarity instead. With regard to the base game, if you get pack size on your maps, it will increase the value of the Crucible monsters and their encounters. So it is beneficial to have it.
All right, good.
Once upon
Wait,
a time,
does that also
Disney
mean more
entertained the
XP?
idea of permanent skin
Probably.
transfers, destroying an item to create a permanent NTX. Is there any word on this, or has it been abandoned as unfeasible?
It's hard, and we haven't done it yet, but it's certainly something that we don't have philosophical problems with.
Okay.
Something with permanent MTX. Okay.
All right, chat. You been spamming anything else?
I'm gonna go log in soon.
Yeah, log in. Is that the spam?
Play some Crucible.
It's still typing melee. Any changes planned for expedition gear? What's next with Ward?
I'm unaware of any changes planned for expedition gear at the moment. I mean, at this stage, it's pretty much a matter of they can read the patch notes in a couple of minutes, and that will answer, and Control F Ward, right? And otherwise, keep posting feedback about what stuff you'd like to see changes to, and we'll look into it. For
Control
the
F, boys.
Perfect. Well, let's make
That's
that 1
the
minute.
new emo.
People want to know if fishing rods love
Control
Crucible
F.
trees, Chris.
I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to let them work it out.
What?
Right?
I didn't hear it.
All right. Thank
always
you very
do.
much for your time, Chris. Thanks
Oh,
for
you're
the
welcome.
Q&A.
It's been great.
Pleasure as always.
Thanks so much.
All right. See you fine folks later. Bye-bye.
Nice. Let's read this phone book. Let's go! Bye, Chris. You in 6 months? Actually, that's. Oh, actually, I just realized something. Do you realize that I will see Chris the next time, not on camera, probably, but on fucking stage. Or maybe walking past me, you know, at Exile Con. Holy crap, my goodness gracious. Would you get a selfie? No, I don't want to annoy anyone. Log out. No, chat, don't spam. Log out. I'm kind of sad that I didn't have chat at the side, but you know what? That's fine. I'll definitely rewatch this. Nice. Oh my god, they're all active. They're rating subtractive. Holy moly, dude. Holy moly, dude. Wait, is subtractive actually streaming? Yeah, you must stream.
You can share them, Pronx. You have it loaded. Nah, that's okay. Appreciate that. Yeah, we'll yeah, I mean, actually, if you could copy paste them, I guess, into a text, I guess I could open.
Wait,
that
does
up.
he not
But
know
usually
that they're
this
gonna
resolves
rate
in
him?
About 5 minutes. This happens.
Wait, he doesn't know.
This happens all the time. Just 5 minutes, we'll get it. Raid incoming. Fat Twink, yo, welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome. Sorry, yeah, Nginx is broken, guys.
He does not know.
Nginx is broken. Let's see.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm actually doing it, boys. I am opening the Edge browser and go on Path of Exile, and there is a gateway, bro. Hold. Do you see the difference? Wait, this is a completely bright white page. Do you realize how the difference is on my face? It's insane. Anyhow. All right. Okay, I actually need some different lighting right now. Otherwise, I'm gonna like go insane. Yes, this is. Oh my god, this is so much better. If it's it's not full gamer mode. Okay, this is so much better. Ooh, gotta get him to say that's pretty powerful. Shaggy, I thought you were gone. Anyhow, very very cool. Very 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 cool. Path of Exile is out, boys. It is, boys, log in. It is time. Okay, there's a little bit. Oh my god, it's just look at the emotes. Log in, boys. Let's go. Holy shit, that. Diablo 4 Standard Edition minus $70. Refund. Nice. What an absolute even the first comment, what a fucking gem. Holy heck. This is toxic, bro. Oh boy, okay. I'm a little bit of a, a little bit of a AI whore. So I really want to try this. Give me, okay, I actually need to, okay, no, first of all, you know what we're first gonna do before I'm gonna like, suck AI's pee-pee? Give me, right, oh god, I'm not logged in, log in, get it? Okay, I'm gonna log in here because I'm logged in here. As always, if you don't know, when they usually drop this, it means that the digital downloads and the track has been updated, meaning we can listen to the new track. Upvote that for me. Can you make me cliff notes? Bing can literally fucking do everything. And if it's not Bing, to be honest, I actually like using Bing and ChatGPT at the same time, because while Bing is doing something, I can do ChatGPT and just bounce off of each other. All right. So while one is writing this, one is writing this. Anyhow, sometimes look at the splash preview for the patch notes. Splash preview site. Right. That's a very good point. I just want to get the music going. So give me a few seconds. But I am going to open everything up. That is the splash preview. You know, while this is downloading, to be honest, in this browser, oh my god, 2 browsers is the worst. Okay, do not use 2 browsers. Okay, I think I'm gonna just change to Edge over the next few days. let's watch the Crucible trailer one more time and see how it is. There you go.
Hail, one of many. Hail.
Okay, I actually... Holy fuck, that's loud. I feel like the trailer was kind of interesting and different. Oh no, I need to like set everything up here. I'm sorry. Alright.
One of many. Eons ago, my kind walked the molten surface of this world. Now, we seek a champion.
That reminded me a little bit of Legion at the beginning, right? Where it just
You
spawns
must
the
endure
monsters.
the heat of the Crucible.
The animation looks a little bit jagged, to be honest.
To forge weapons unlike any Raycast has ever seen. Take up the power of the Titans and bring obliteration.
But why? Why do the Titans want to bring obliteration? There's a lot of lore questions, right? Why now? Who's this voice, potentially? Why do they want to bring obliteration? Are they just war-hungry creatures, or...? The Pathfinder rework really surprised me, but the Saboteur, I felt Saboteur. I really felt it. I was like, yeah, of course they're gonna do it, right? They're not gonna just change the number of just seismic threat. Like, because it's typical Path of Exile. If they see a problem that can be addressed with this tendency, just change everything. Anyhow, I feel like the music is definitely in the background. I even feel like this League trailer, even the League itself, is a little bit in the background, right? Is it just me? It kind of feels like it's not that in your face. So, let me just extract this. Okay, BRB, you know, this stuff is loading. I just wanna know. I just wanna see it. I just wanna hear the new sound, boys. The sound of what? Nothing. Sorry, you guys are very active. Look at this. No, just woke up and they're hangry, dude. Titans don't want to deal with puny humans, so they just kill them. No, but this Titan clearly does, right? Isn't there even something... Maybe I just need to look at the dialogue again, but I feel like there was something about... Wasn't it become our champion? Wasn't this like what beginning?
Hail, one of many.
Okay, one of many. Excellent.
Eons ago, my kind walked the molten surface of this world.
Yeah.
Now, we seek a champion.
See? We seek a champion, right? So they don't want to kill us. They want to boost us. But why? And that's the bigger question. Why do they? So I have a feeling that might... Bro, if it's gonna be Scourge again... We Titans have felt the enemies beyond. We need a champion to destroy them. I mean, you could do that. Can I make my voice as deep as the voice in the trailer? This is actually going to be quite difficult keeping this up. If you tell me to talk like this and read the patch notes. Fuck. Alright. Do we have some music? I can literally not go lower than this. This is beyond my capabilities. Ooh. Sorry, what? Crucible, let's go. Let's go. Holy moly. Wait, what is that picture? Oh, okay, just a picture. Okay. Oh, that's the art, the album art. We have 3. Okay. The first one is Forge of the Ancients. And yes, Michael James Collier, I probably say his name. Michael, I just call him Michael now. Made him. Just use the Jubilee. I don't have one. I wonder what the Karui has. They're definitely involved somehow. It's a very active song. This is not gonna be like... I actually think this might be the song they use when you start the encounter. Because it's a 1 minute song. 1 minute 8 seconds. Was pretty good. And this is probably the end, right? Like when you kill all the enemies, like in Legion, you know, it fades out like this. Or it skips in the song to like the last 5 seconds and then fades out maybe. 10 seconds. Alright, good. That was the first one. Forge of the Ancients. And now we have Titan's Call. Damn, that's some impressive sounds. That's a little bit different. We have a female voice. Okay. Titan's Call. Oh, that is from the teaser. Well, technically, you know. This was used for the teaser, probably. Kind of, maybe. Interesting. I like that a little bit more. There's like a little... It's a nice balance between the very heavy, I don't know, drums, I don't know, music, I'm so sorry. And the female voice. It's just a nice balance. I really like it. But can't I claim the wings with a Twitch off? FB Twitch. Yeah, you probably gotta do it on desktop. But keep in mind, I think it's saved. Like, if you go into the menu of, like, Twitch drops, it's saved. Like, you can also check sometimes, like, for example, if there's some stuff that you need to watch 2 hours or some crap and you know, the browser crashes and you log back in, like, you can actually check the time there, I think. So just FYI. Anyhow, Titan's Call, very nice. Wisdom of the Ages is the last one. Okay, that might be the teaser. This is, by the way, also the longest track. I just want to point that out. This one is nearly 2 minutes. This one has a complete different tone. I wanted to say it's a little bit hopeful, right? That's kind of the tone I'm getting at. It's hopeful. You know, like it's like a scene where your entire team is down, your party is nearly destroyed, and you know, this song comes on like in an anime, and you know they're coming back, boys. You know? But when would you use this? Maybe in a transition phase, which we don't know yet. Interesting. Very interesting. I think I like the Titan's Call the most. Even though I feel like this is the perfect League theme. The Forge of the Ancients, yeah. Very high octane. Fall into it. Trying to dodge the rare mobs, you know, that you yourself spawn. Sound kicks in. The core. Right? I have no idea. Maybe I should do some sort of like music theory 101 and just learn a little bit. Probably will make my reviews a little bit better. Boy, how long to get through the browser though. Yeah, you know, mobile Twitch app, hot garbage. I like it. I really like it. It's going to be like, you can probably hear some sort of like, you probably don't hear this. This is probably, do you know like where Legion kind of starts with a theme and it has some ambient sound, right? And then the moment it explodes and starts, it's like it kicks in. And that's probably what's gonna happen. Like while you're charging, you might hear some sound effects and maybe some rumbling, and then it's just boom, and then it's like, then it goes. I can see that. Or maybe probably some lava sounds. Maybe even, you know, the typical sound effect, right? When you like drop some water onto the anvil, the hot anvil or something like tss, probably like this. I can hear those sound effects, right? When you're charging it up, the Crucible, and then it just kicks in like. Yep, that's pretty damn nice. Now, bigger question is there, because sometimes there is, a trailer version? We have a Lake of Kalandra. We have a Forbidden Sanctum. We do have a Crucible. So we have 3 tracks and a Crucible trailer. So technically 3 main tracks and 1 trailer track. Nice. Reminds me a little bit of the second one. I mean, usually it is a little mix. It's interesting how the voices are a lot lower in this track. Probably to make it not too overwhelming in the stream and be able to read the text. Right? And kind of let the gameplay and visuals speak more for themselves. Also, it might give it a little bit more room to the editor to add sound effects. If the music isn't like, oh, like it's just holy crap. So it's smart, right? It's very smart to lower it a little bit. That sound effect of hitting the anvil in the background, like, tick. Nice. That was the trailer version. Yeah, all very, very unique. Or at least the trailer version is usually like a combination. Yeah. I guess we go now into the patch notes. Let me just add those sounds. There we go. I have them in the background for you guys. Hope you like that. Good. Now, it is time, boys. The time has cometh. Yes. The time has indeed cometh. Cometh. Yes. Good. Splash page. Path of Exile Crucible official trailer. We already watched that a few times. Comes out in 7 days, 23 hours, which is next week Friday. As always, I'm guessing it's not in 24 hours, so that means it's coming out at 10 p.m. Is it coming out 10 p.m.? I feel like it is coming out on 10 p.m. But either way, we'll check that out at some point. In Path of Exile Crucible, you will learn about the ancient titans who once shaped the primordial surface of Rayclast. If you're powerful enough, you will earn the ability to forge their power onto your weapons. Our April expansion introduces the Crucible Challenge League, 9 new Vaal skills, Atlas Gateways, over 10 new unique items, and improvements to Breach, Abyss, Passive Tree Masteries, the Saboteur, the Pathfinder, Ruthless, and much more. Seize the power of the Crucible. Seize is an interesting word there. Crucible forges are scattered throughout Rayclast. When you find one, select one of your weapons and channel the power of the ancient titans to spawn a challenging encounter. The longer you channel for, the more the molten monsters merge together to form more fearsome foes. You're in control of the difficulty and reward of these encounters. I really like the whole... Oh, click and hold to spawn molten monsters. They click and hold. Oh, so that's how they did it. I thought you have to like hold the thing itself. Oh, okay. So you just hold the button and then it probably just fills up. Okay, interesting. I hope I don't have to like drag my mouse with it though. Because that would be a little bit annoying, I think. Tiny bit. No. Holding one button, one giant red button that just gets more and more molten-like would also, I think, kind of work. With a bar, but I think we also saw the bar at the bottom. Alright, that's a lot of skeletons. That's a lot of skeletons. Forge your own path. In an iconically Path of Exile way, your weapons can now be imbued with powerful passive skill trees of their own. Encounters at Crucible Forges grant you experience that lets you uncover the tree on a weapon and gradually progress through its skills. You can only allocate one skill from each tier, so choose your path through each Crucible passive tree carefully. If you're lucky, you will find certain skills that when allocated are worth valuable currency or unique items when sold to a vendor. Oh, we can actually have the little preview here. That's awesome. I love that. Minions attacks overwhelm physical damage reduction. By the way, can we just appreciate how they had to probably make a ton of new icons for this? Like, can we just appreciate this? Like, that's I don't know how many items they probably had to make for this again. Minions have 250 accuracy. Then we have some bow-related things. Physical damage converted to chaos damage. Then we have allocates Master Fletcher, which we do not know. We don't. Grace has 40% increased aura effect. Grace has 25% increased reservation. So I gotta be a little bit careful when taking that. Sarkta gems are supported by level 10 lesser multiple projectiles. That's kind of insane, because keep in mind, that's literally a 7 link at this point. It's a weak 7th link, but it can potentially become one, right? If you 6 link your bow. And you could just be like, perfect, 10 lesser multiple projectiles, Enough projectiles for me. I can use it with something else. Boom, bam, bam. Chance to scorch enemies. Cannot inflict ignite. Oh. It's kind of interesting. A little bit of a different way to do this. I can see why they did cannot inflict ignite. You know why? You know what I used? A bow with my EK ignite build. So that would be way too strong. It would be way too strong. Attack speed and crit chance, increased endurance and duration of the charges, and explicit speed modifier magnitudes. What the flying heck is that? 50% increased explicit speed modifier. Also, any speed modifier on this bow, which is explicit, not an implicit, gets increased. So you would have 15% increased to the attack speed. But it says modifier magnitude. So is that multiplicative? Probably, question mark. Okay, interesting. So then we have a shield. Increased implicit modifier magnitudes. Alright. Oh, it even tells us. That's actually cool. Implicit modifiers are those that come from an item's type rather than its random properties. That is very, very, very good to know for, you know, new players, of course. Because new players, you know, wouldn't potentially know that. Very good. What else do we have? We have the tempered foil. Then we have some adds. That's a lot of flat damage. I mean, added to potentially weakish weapon, you know. Area of effect if intelligence is below 100. Okay, more AoE. Gain 100 to intelligence. Gain no inherent bonuses from intelligence. Oh, okay, so it turns that off. Flicker Strike and Vigilant Strike's cooldown can be bypassed by power charges instead of frenzy or endurance charges. What? Not big brain enough for that one. Jesus. 50% chance to gain Soul Eater for 20 seconds on killing blow against rare and unique enemies with double strike or dual strike. While you have Soul Eater, you consume the souls of anything killed nearby, gaining bonuses for each. Is this the first time we can get Soul Eater? Wait, no, Headhunt also can get Soul Eater, correct? Yeah, I think it can. But good lord. Swift Brand. Interesting that Swift Brand is a thing with this. Oh. C checks, which is reduced attack speed, but gets some physical damage. Accuracy rating, gain no inherent bonuses from strength. Item sells for an additional unique C-Jax. There was some Warcry buffs, some banner skills. And increased effect of shock on you. Unaffected by shock while channeling. Oh. So technically if you use this as a cyclone, then you're unaffected by shock. That's pretty nice. Next is Stand Before the Titans. Crucible's endgame takes place in the Forge of the Titans. Forge of the Titans, a dangerous area harboring an ancient power. The ability to melt a weapon down, merging its Crucible passive tree with that of another weapon. This process produces unpredictable results, incorporating elements of each tree as well as random upgrades, downgrades, and changes. Through careful use of the forge, it's possible to craft some incredibly powerful skill trees on your weapon. A little preview. I love that area. That screenshot alone is beautiful. Like, I could already eat that ground. I could eat that texture already. Look at it. It's yummy. I mean, it is. It looks great. I love that. Also, I like the depth of field. You know, makes it look really nice. Combine the Crucible passive skill trees of 2 non-unique items, destroying the top item in the process. I like that they're very open in how it works, meaning the top one gets destroyed. Keep in mind the Awakener Orb still doesn't explain which ones I think gets destroyed, which I think. Don't quote me on that. I haven't used that in 6 leagues, probably. Enemies in your Rage Vortex or Blade Storms are hindered and unnerved. Boys, Shaggy, Rage Vortex is back on the menu. Elements that do not deal damage or scorch. Oh, sorry. Increase the effect of non-damaging elements. Okay. Yeah, good for shock. Interesting. I think we saw that one a little bit further down. Journey through Atlas Gateways. Among other endgame improvements, Path of Exile Crucible introduces Atlas Gateways, nodes on the Atlas passive tree that allow instant travel between 2 locations. So yeah, I'm not gonna go too in-depth into everything, we can anyway see that, but I love this little animation and, you know, something flying across it. Kind of makes sense, of course, to show that to the player. Very nice. Survive the Breach. We are overhauling Breach in many ways. Regular Breach stones are now much higher level, replacing charged, pure, and enriched Breach stones entirely. Yeah, we saw that already in the preview. I'm just gonna go briefly through that. Oh, they also changed the scarabs. Breach is an area contain an additional Breach boss class hand. Breach hands in area drop double Breach splinters. That's new, isn't it? That's new for Gilded Breach scarabs, I think. Nice. Stare into the abyss. Abyssal. Stare into the abyss. I'm 90% sure that's written somewhere. Abyssal depths now always contain an abyss lich. Abysses have a chance to spawn a Stygian Spire in place of the reward chest, which drops a Stygian Vice, jewels, and other items. Yeah. You're now guaranteed to always get a 4-hole Abyss alongside your Abyssal Depths. That still doesn't make me like Abyss, because the way it's... Unless there is more in the patch notes, in how it interacts with the level, but currently it's less about it spawning a hole or not a hole and Abyss Lich and it does and does. Like, I don't care about that. I would play it if it isn't as annoying as it is, right? Because if I run into it and it goes the exact opposite direction of the map layout, it's already annoying. Maybe it's not in the game yet, but I hope it will be, where during the creation of the instance, it will understand which way the player would go. And I think they said they have a flowchart, but maybe that's not enough yet, or maybe there hasn't been enough time to implement it in Abyss, or maybe they don't want to. But that's kind of what I would need, right, to make it Abyss actually feel good. But on the other side, you then remove some randomization, right? Because, yeah, I get it. Because it always moves the same direction. Kind of. Maybe you can make it a little bit wackier, but that probably introduces new bugs, and then it's just... doesn't know where to go, and it just stops. That would be a feels bad moment. Master and evolved meta. The Crucible expansion provides a lot of new ways to build characters and improve your favorite ones. We have revamped approximately half of the masteries on the passive tree with lots of new build improving stats to pick from. We have also bolstered the tree itself with new classes for link skills, stun mitigation, and marks, and have added a few new masteries. So yeah, that is... Oh, Jesus Lord, that's a lot. Okay, quick question. I want to play cock. You know, I love a nice cock, custom crit, right? What do I take now? I take this, like clockwork, right, for cooldown recovery and stuff. Cannot be blinded. Reduced damage taken from blinded enemies. Nearby enemies are blinded. Blind enemies on hit. So clearly this and that. Trigger summon Skitterbots, because, you know, just absolutely insane. Just actually insane. And then... you probably take this. Explosives Expert, which gives crit strike multiplier against burning enemies, increased crit strike chance against shocked enemies, and damage penetrates 10 elemental res against shield enemies. Yeah. Or if you have AoE, you take the other one, which is down here. Okay. I was kind of scared there isn't enough to take for cast on crit. But yeah, there's a little bit of a choice. Like either you go for this, which is more damage, or you just want more AoE. No, technically this is also damage, right? But this is for if you have an AoE skill attached to your cast on crit. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, and the fourth one depends on what you want. Alright, nice. Enhance your build with new Val skill gems. Val Absolution, Val Arctic Armor, Val Lightning Arrow is kind of nice, and Val Reap seems pretty damn crazy. Val Firestorm. Val Firestorm calls down a host of massive meteors that spiral inwards towards the target. Each meteor creates a patch of burning ground on impact. Okay. Val Ice Shot. That's actually such a cool design. I like that. Val Ice Shot fires an icy arrow and creates multiple mirages of your character that also fired at the same target. The mirages persist for a few seconds, firing again whenever you use Ice Shot. That seems fucking OP. That seems so fucking busted. Jesus Christ. Val Animate Weapon. Val Animate Weapon animates multiple weapons or lingering blades at once and transforms them into random attack-focused unique weapons. The unique weapons have a separate weapon limit, but a shorter duration than regular animated weapons. Okay. The problem with Val Animate Weapon, in my opinion, is, and I feel like that takes way too much time to implement that. The problem with Val Animate Weapon is it makes the leveling experience, which is already good with animate weapons, better. The single target, though, get effed, you know? And I would have loved to use something like... At least I think so, right? Like... I have to maybe look into Val Animate Weapon. But I would have liked Val Animate Weapon to kind of throw 20 weapons on the ground. Or 10. Or 5. Or anything. Right? On its own. But that's... I mean, but at that point you would need to create ghost weapons that cannot be picked up and only be used with the skill. And might have some other bad stuff associated. Yeah. I would have liked Val Animated Weapon to actually make, you know, bosses easier. Right? Like, what if I don't have animated weapons anymore? Right? And I'm at the end of the map. But I have Val Animated Weapon ready. No. Go back to where the enemies were to drop the weapon, cast it, and then go back. That's a little bit weird. But, it's just me. Still, I'm thinking about playing animated weapon just to see it. Also, Val Ice Shot. Jesus fuck. So, like, this is for bosses, right? You don't need anything else. You just need a fat-ass, strong Ice Shot build, and you just blast. You just blast. It's insane. Absolutely ridiculous. Tainted Pact, taking care of damage. Yeah, okay, we got these. We got the reserves 8% of nearby enemy monsters' life. Then we got the Widow Hail, increased bonuses gained from equipped quiver. That I think goes up to 225, I think we saw. Very interesting, okay. Become a champion. So yeah, this is the boss kill event. Then challenge yourself in Ruthless. So they, of course, mention Ruthless again. And the Eternal Orb. Get ready for Exile Con. So they actually... No. They're mentioning that. Gotta read. Yeah, it's I think pretty much the same. I think they just mention it as in, hey yo guys, this will last. And actually, it's kind of nice. They say before streaming the entire Path of Exile 3.22 reveal, meaning there will be not something in between. So yeah, that's nice. Also, I don't know if we have seen this enemy before. Might be a little bit of a teaser, right? Right there. Unless it's the one enemy unchanged from the Path of Exile 2 trailer. The something about son of someone. But I feel like that might be a new enemy. Looking pretty big. Very big. Is that Doedra? Is that Doedra? Anyhow. Go lore masters. Go. Compare the models. Go. No, just steroid it out. Ultra juiced. Alright. So, now how do I get to the big website? So this is the normal page. Find out more. Oh, content reveal, announcement, patch notes. And now, I want to do the thing. Okay, I'm an AI bitch. Anyhow, I don't know what to say. Anyhow, I really want to see Bing. Give me the key takeaways. Ooh, that's weak. Ooh, that's weak. I actually can't zoom into that, which I really dislike. I actually would like to zoom into that. Can I zoom into that? I can't, right? Okay. Oh, retry for this page only. Oh, did it just do everything? Huh. Okay, kind of takes infos from something else. Okay, interesting. Very, very interesting. Very bad, by the way. This is bad. This is very bad. This is exactly not what I want. I'm gonna go for more precise, because I don't want balance. I don't want any creative things, right? Yes, I like using AI. I'm sorry. So, because I want to see what it says, and then I'm gonna read through all of it and see, like, the differences, right? Just to learn just how good it is to actually do something, because that's a lot of words. That's a lot of words. Like, that's a lot of words, right? So if you can potentially be like, yo, just give me the key takeaways, bro. And right, if you don't have a lot of time, or you're just roughly interested in Path of Exile, and you're like, oh yeah, I haven't played in like 3 leagues. Well, you know, let me get the key takeaways from the patch notes, right? Because I know they exist. And, you know, just say some cool stuff that is hopefully correct, right? That's what matters. All right. How do I do this? Let's try it again. Give me the key takeaways from this page. Specifically from this page. Let's see what it does. And this time I'm saying be precise. I don't want any balance. I don't want any slight creativity in it. Just give me the facts. As much as possible. Bro, it's struggling right now. There's not much happening. The AI is like, I don't know what I'm reading, bro. This is even too complicated for me, bro. Yeah, that's what I usually feel like when reading patch notes. Yeah, you got me there. The Corangled passive screw. Okay, so yeah, it's reading something completely different. Interesting. What if I give it the link again, you know? Or maybe I'm actually like, maybe the... You know what, actually, just to... I'm actually kind of interested in this now. I'm sorry for doing this live, but yeah. It's my stream. So, try this again. Give me key takeaways. Whoops. Sorry for that extra hashtag. I don't even know what you call that in normal. Like in English. Okay, yeah, didn't like that one. Even it's Raute in German. I know that. Dude, it's struggling, dude. It's kind of interesting though, because Bing is like, I would be super okay with ChatGPT being like, I don't know, bro. This came out after September 21st. Not 21st. Well, the year 2021. Yeah. 2021. Oh! Oh, okay. So maybe it was looped. I feel like it was in a weird loop. So I had to restart the browser. Interesting. Okay, let's see what it says. If I just say key takeaways. And then we're gonna read the patch notes and see if it actually is kind of good. Here are some key takeaways from the web page. I feel like it's not enough. I feel like you could tell me a lot more. Okay, what does it say roughly? The latest update for Path of Exile is version. Well, it's technically wrong. It's not the latest. It's the upcoming update. So it's already kind of wrong. The update introduces a new challenge league called the Crucible Challenge League. Okay, weirdly worded. Sure, you know. If you know Path of Exile, you kind of know what it's trying to say. Sure. But as a brand new player that has no idea, and you just got this patch note sent from a friend, you're like, right? And you have never played this game. Anyhow, there are new content and features added in this update. Poggers. I'm gonna ask you, Bing, in a second what these features are, because I want to know them. And you said there are new features, so you have read them, I assume. The update includes revamps to the Breach and Abyss leagues. That's good. Yes, that's right. Revamps is, I think, even the right word. So it didn't like change the word in a weird way. And that's now the longest. There are changes to the Atlas endgame divination. What? Endgame divination cards. Voidborn Reliquary. Passive skill tree mastery. Passive skill tree clusters. Ascendancy classes. Saboteur, Pathfinder. Ascendant. Okay. Early game changes. New games. New gem skill balance. How can new gems get a skill balance? Anyhow, we put these new skills in, and now we balance them right away. They came pre-balanced. Okay, player balance, which is like a nothing. It's like okay. Item balance, monster balance. Okay, ruthless specific changes. Curic League mods available during 3. User interface changes, item filter changes, and bug fixes. Okay. We're gonna read. We're gonna read through the patch notes and see if it actually is correct. But I definitely want to know what is the new content and features added. Yeah. What are the new that you mentioned? Well. Let me not say that you mentioned, because it didn't mention them. I wanna tell you. Dude, it's struggling, dude. It's struggling hard. It's like, holy heck. Maybe it's because it's a brand new page, right? Because it just popped up, and Bing is like, I've never heard about this page, holy moly. And that might be the reason, right? A brand new page might take very long for Bing to be like, well, maybe I'm also the very first person who does that, but I can't imagine. But maybe I am, right? Who actually does this right now, and it has to really actually read it for the very first time. Okay, here are some of the new content and features added in the Path of Exile Crucible update according to the webpage. That's very important, to the webpage. That's good. 9 new Val skill gems have been introduced. Val Absolution, Val Animate Weapon, Val Arctic Armor, Val Dominate. What the fuck is Val Domination? Val Firestorm, Val Ice Shot, Val Lightning Arrow, Val Reap, and Val Rejuvenation Totem. What is Val Domination? What? Anyhow. 3 pairs of Atlas gateways have been introduced. That's correct. That's 3 pairs. So in total 6, which is correct. A new dexterity skill gem called Snipe has been added. It allows you to channel your bow to gain stages and release to trigger 1 supported bow skill for each stage gained. I think from what we briefly heard from Chris, that is correct. The new Dexterity Intelligence support gem called Mana Forged Arrows has been added. It supports bow attack skills. Okay, we'll see. A new intelligence support gem called Prismatic Burst has been added. It supports attacks and causes them to trigger the Prismatic Burst spell. I'm gonna check that out, see if it's correct, what it says. A new Dexterity Strength support gem called Momentum has been added. It supports attack skills that aren't triggered. Over 10 new unique items have been added along with 5 new divination cards designed by supporters. The stack size of several currencies, including Orb of Alchemy, Valorb, and Chaos Orb, has been increased to 20. Alright, that's very nice that it actually summarizes that. I feel like a new player or someone who doesn't have a lot of time to read through the patch notes and uses Bing would be fucking hyped reading that. Well, hyped. It's awesome. It's great. Is there anything specific? Items now persist in the vendor's shop for multiple levels and can now rarely find... And you can now rarely find rare items at vendors. What? I feel like the last point sounds more like a ruthless thing. You know what I mean? That sounds more like a ruthless thing. I'm sorry, by the way, it's really small. I can zoom in here, but I can't zoom in like on the Bing thing. Okay. I'm gonna leave this open because it's gonna be interesting. This one, the key takeaways is hot garbage. This one is really bad. I feel like it could have done a much better job. But this one here is really nice. Like, if you give me this one with a little bit more infos, like with a couple of this added. Like, for example, you can easily say it's the Crucible and, you know, it's about the Titans and stuff. You know, it could be a little bit better. But if you give me nothing else but this, it's not bad. It's not bad, right? It's not bad for Bing. I'm not 100% happy with it, but it's not bad. Anyhow, now let's actually read the thing. I'm sorry. Actually, I really want to eat it a little bit before I go to bed, but I'm just gonna throw in a banana. A banana. Yes. Alright. The Crucible Challenge League. Challenge Leagues are a great opportunity for a fresh start in the economy. All of your old characters and items are still present in the standard and hardcore leagues. Rather than know that, I'm gonna like zoom through this. In a Crucible Challenge League, you will learn about the ancient titans who once shaped the primordial surface of Rayclast. If you're powerful enough, you will earn the ability to forge their power onto your weapons. Crucible forges are scattered throughout Rayclast, we know that. In an okay, so this is like a little bit copy-pasted or reworded from the original site, of course, about this expansion. Check out this Crucible. Introduced 9 new skill gems, Val Absolution, Val Domination. Okay, Val Domination, so this is correct with what it said here. I have no idea what the frack Val Dominations. I've never heard, what is Domination? I've never heard about Domination being a skill. Domination, maybe I'm just mixing things up. Introduced 3 pairs of Atlas gateways to the Atlas passive skill tree. Oh, so this is new continent features, which it said here. There are new continent features added in this update. I just took this stuff here. Oh. So it gave a little bit of like a... But a weird thing, it didn't say, okay, this update includes revamps, 2 leagues. Like, it took it like here, but it actually told me about Abyss and Breach. Interesting. Maybe this is just too... This was maybe too long for it to give a key takeaway. Right, where it's like, okay, that's way too many things. Just skip it, right? Just say stuff. Just features. It's just features. Okay. All right, so we got this. We got the Dexterity Skill Gem Snipe channel to charge up your bow, gaining stages, release to trigger one supported. Bro, it's actually kind of insane how this one... The new Dexterity skill gem called Snipe has been added. It allows you to channel your bow to gain stages and release to trigger one supported bow skill for each stage gain. I feel like this sounds slightly better than this. Interesting, but it ignored this one. It ignored this line here. It actually ignored both lines here. Interesting. There's a difference. I mean, Bing definitely made a sentence out of it, and this is not a sentence right here, right? It's more like, add a new dexterity skill gem, snipe, and then infos. Interesting. I mean, keep in mind, I just rolled one simple prompt. Right? Yes, I'm prompting right now. Mana Forged Arrow supports bow attack skills, causing them to trigger when you have spent an amount of total mana on other bow attacks, based on a supported skill's mana cost. Supported skills will deal more damage based on a mana cost, cannot modify the skills of minions. Okay, this right here, I feel like it did a bad job there. Yeah, this is a really bad summarization of this. It literally says, it has been added, it supports bow attack skills. Cool, bro, I could have also said the same thing. If you told me it's Mana Forged Arrows, I'm guessing it would have been a bow attack skill, my guy. So yeah. Yeah, that's a very bad summarization of Mana Forged. Like, for example, if I look forward to new skills, I would like more info in Bing. But keep in mind, you can just probably be like, tell me more about Mana Forged Arrows. That sounds cool. And it probably would do it. Maybe we can... Let me try this real quick. Mana Forged Arrows sounds cool. What does it do? Okay, well, it's struggling on the right side here. I'm just gonna keep reading. Prismatic Burst supports attacks, causing them to trigger the Prismatic Burst spell. Cannot support triggered attacks or attacks used by things other than you. Cannot modify the skills of minions. Prismatic Burst chooses an element at random and deals damage of that type in an area. Having higher strength makes it more likely to choose fire, higher dexterity makes it more likely to choose cold, and higher intelligence makes it more likely to choose lightning. Okay. So, Mana Forged Arrows that supports, according to the webpage, it can support bow attack skills trigger when you've spent an amount of total mana. Based on the support. Okay, so I think copy pastes pretty much. Wait, did it actually literally copy paste them? Not the flying bow. It pretty much copy-pasted stuff from the webpage. Okay. Okay, so it didn't reword things, mostly. It just actually just copy-pasted them. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. I mean, sure. But on the other side, like, if you're interested in Mana Forge, you could also just be like, Mana Forge. Control F, you know, I just... I mean, I get. But keep in mind, this... potentially, like, I am on the webpage right now. What if I just go through the Bing chat directly and ask, I heard there's a 3.21 update for Path of Exile. Tell me. And then you don't even go to the website anymore and get all the information, right? And you want to ask about Mana Forge. Then you couldn't just Control F because you're in the chat in Bing. Anyhow, I'm just interested in it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna move on. I'm sorry. Added a new dexterity, strength, support gem. Momentum supports attack skills that aren't triggered. Using those skills will grant momentum, which is lost when you move, including teleporting. So this is, I guess, the new onslaught, or at least the early onslaught. Interesting. Added over 10 new unique items, 5 divination cards. The following currency have now stacks. Oh wait, did you mention Eldritch Chaos Orbs? No, you didn't. Did you mention Eldritch Chaos Orbs? No, you didn't. You didn't mention those with the stack size here. So it actually didn't tell me everything. It also skipped Tainted Chaos Orbs. Interesting. Yeah, so it just took some of them. I mean, it took the most important ones. Well, Eldritch Chaos... actually, it took the most important. I don't care about Tainted Chaos Orbs and Eldritch Chaos Orbs being... Oh, and Veiled Chaos Orbs. Yeah, I don't care about any of these, to be honest. Yeah, I care about this, the first three. Items now persist in a vendor's shop so that you have a chance to buy them. You can now also rarely find rare items. Wait, that's not a ruthless thing. It actually copy-pasted it correctly. Or reworded it correctly. Wait, what? Okay, so they want you to get rare items now, not from vendors? Oh, I know why. Because that's a speedrun thingy, right? Yeah, they did this for the speedrunners. So, finding a movement speed boots at Act 1 is now probably impossible. It seems to make more time if you have to correct the cliff now. This seemed to take more time. No, it won't. I mean, it definitely takes longer right now because I think it's a new page. And Bing, I think, hasn't read it. It takes very long to do this because I'm pretty sure if I do it with a Wikipedia page about sausages, it probably takes it 4 seconds. But keep in mind, you can still start now adding to this conversation. That's a thing. I think the most important part is always with these the Bing and the old GPT stuff is, or any GPT, right? Any like the generative, what is it? Generative pre-trained transformer models, that it has a conversation, right? You can be like, yo, the thing you just mentioned, tell me more about that. That's the reason why I said mana forged arrows sounds cool. What does it do? You would not be able to do this with Siri or any assistant. They would fall on their face. They would be like, I don't know, I give up, bro. But because it knows about it, I'm also on the page, right? Yeah. That's the powerful part. I don't even care if it just regurgitates stuff from a web page. It's the I don't know, so many other things. Anyways, I'm 1000% gonna use this, by the way, in my new video. The next video. 1000%, bro. Maybe not that way, but I might prompt it a couple more times and see what works. Anyhow, the pacing of breach encounters has been improved. They now feel dense with monsters throughout the breach, leaning more on the side of it feeling overwhelming towards the end. We've also reduced the duration of breaches so that there is constant monster pressure and you can get on with your mapping sooner. Absolutely fine with that. The number of breach splinters dropped are now affected by increases in reduction to item quantity. Okay. That they weren't before, it's kind of insane, but sure. Seems like a lot of trigger-based builds, so you have cock stuff. Cock. What? Hey, Bing, do you like cock? No. We're static. Jesus Christ. The experience gained from killing breach monsters in your maps has been reduced, and the number of breach splinters dropped from monsters has been rebalanced, as you're now encountering more of them. The number of breach splinters dropped by breach bosses in your map has been reduced. Okay. Charged and rich, blah blah blah, are gone. Rip that. No, it's good. It's good. It's good that it's all rebalanced. Breach blessings can be used to upgrade, but of course you will find them rarer, right? That's actually okay. I actually kind of curious. Any other new features or updates? Wait, no. Actually, I can be like, you mentioned breach update. Tell me more. And now I'm gonna wait half an hour because it takes an hour for it to react to stuff. Flawless breach will no longer drop from Maven or breach. Because keep in mind, this is a lot of stuff. This is a lot. Look. This is all just breach. Right? This is all just breach right here. Can you summarize that in 4 sentences? Like the most important stuff, or I don't know, whatever you're gonna do. Or maybe make a list of changes of like. So it's gonna be interesting what it does. By the way, you're not there yet, but the mastery, some crazy stuff, dude. Oh no, it needs to be pretty bizarre, huh, guys? Yes, Nave. It's very bizarre, dude. Nave, do you like PvE? Watch Nave just mention Diablo 2 out of nowhere in a second. Because that's Nave. Nave is just Diablo 2 addict. So I'm not gonna too big on the whole breach stuff, and I'm not gonna read all this. Mostly because I'm anyways gonna roughly play them. Breach uniques, I don't think I've ever used breach uniques, and you know, I will see what happens. But that's a lot of breach uniques I see right now that are changed and updated. What did Bing say now? What? Send selected text to chat. What the fuck? What do you mean send selected text to chat? What is this feature? Oh, because I selected this text, I can instantly copy it. Oh. Oh, that's fucking good. Holy moly, and it updates it. Well done. Again, very smart way. Because you can be like, okay, I like this part here. Boop. Send it and be like, summarize that bitch. Sorry for that. Anyways, you know what I mean. Awesome. Very, very cool. Thank you. So what did you say? According to the webpage, there have been several changes made for Path of Exile Crucible update regarding the pacing and rewards for the Breach League. The pacing of the Breach encounters has been improved so that they feel dense with monsters throughout the breach. The duration of breaches has also been reduced so that there is a constant monster pressure and you can get on with your mapping sooner. The number of breach splinters dropped is now affected by increased reductions quantity. The experience gained from killing breach monsters in maps has been reduced, while the number of breach splinters dropped from monsters has been. And then it literally stopped writing, my guy. I had this problem with GPT-4 a lot. Where it just literally ends the sentence. Like, here are 10 steps for something, and then it stops at 7. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, bro. Like, are you meaning? This is why. Or here's the code for something, and then it just stops in the middle of it. I'm like, guy, hello, I need the full go.
Step 1. Donor.
Oh my god, Donor. Yes, dude, yeah, Donor, dude. I haven't had Donor in such a long time, dude. I miss when Donor. That's it. Hi, Hyborg. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. I think I'm fine to just start League Blind. Noise. Sorry, the bridge uniques, some are quite strong. Hard to say, though, a lot of changes. Yeah, again, you know, I'm not smart enough to be like, oh, they changed this bridge unique. Bro, I don't even remember some of the uniques I'm wearing on my 150 Divine EK Ignite build. Like, I know there's one item, I think from the Eldritch boss. The lady. I can't tell you the name. You know, so I wouldn't even know if it happens here. You know, I'm not that smart, or I can't remember this stuff. I also haven't played Path of Exile in, like, you know, properly in like 2 months. You know, when you get a Mage Blood, you just stop playing. I remember that unique. I remember Mage Blood. That was the luckiest goddamn gamble of my entire existence, to be honest. Map tiers and locations have been shuffled through. The pin locations for maps has not changed. Most maps are now initially found at a different tier. Some of the... Oh, actually, I want to read everything. Have been added back to the Atlas. So we got Arid Lake, awesome. Armory, Barrows, Beach. Beach is back, boys. I'm 90% sure. Wait, they put Beach in... and didn't remove Strand? Yo! Let's go! Okay. Oh shoot, they removed Mausoleum. Oh, sorry. Wait, but they probably added Jungle. Yeah, they added Jungle Valley back, okay. Fungal Hollow. Dude, I love Fungal Hollow. Fungal Hollow is such a beautiful map. It's such a beautiful, gorgeous map. I always love recording in that for the YouTube video, for the review. It's such a gorgeous map. Lighthouse. God, I hate the Lighthouse. We got Tower back, boys. Script. What the heck is Scriptorium? Dig, Desert Spring, Crystal Ore, Core. Core is, I think, very similar to... Is it on the list? Carcass. Or Carcass. I think it's Carcass. Yeah, very similar maps. Different bosses. Alright. Map tiers and look at the... Some innovation have been found new homes. Yay. Arrogance of the Val can now be found in the Val Pyramid map. Broken Promises can now be found in the core map. Immortal Resolve can now the Brawny Battle Mage. The Doctor, the Incantation, and the Witch can now be found in the Putrid Cloister, Sepulture, Waste Pool, and Phantasmagoria map. Wait. You can find the Doctor in Waste Pool? And Phantasmagoria? Bro, I love Phantasmagoria map. Because it's just a straight line. I mean, it's not a straight line, but it's a line. It's a curved line. It's a very weird line, but it's a line. right? It doesn't have like 6 paths or it's just massive AoE. You could just pretty much be RF and just run through pretty much. It's Phantasmagoria. I love that map. And it drops the Doctor. Interesting. The Conduit, the Dapper, and the Sephiroth can now be found in the Residence map, boys. Sephiroth, the Binds. So, Residence map, log in. We'll see. By the way, did they remove the one map that everyone spams the fuck out of? No, they did not. What was that again? What is the one map that everyone ran? Oh my god, what's it called? The Mage Blood map. Something with M. Was it with M or W? Or is it something completely else? I don't see it though. Because I think if I see it... Oh, they removed Haunted Mansion. I love Haunted Mansion. Such a gorgeous map as well. Anyhow, endgame changes added a series of new profane modifiers that can roll on maps, logbooks, delve biomes, and heist contracts. These modifiers cause monsters to deal extra physical as chaos and cause monsters to inflict withered for 2 seconds. That is bad. That is very bad. The Eldritch Altar modifier that causes you to have reduced cooldown recovery rate per power charge has been replaced with one that causes you to have reduced critical strike multiplier per power charge. I probably wouldn't even know. Dude, I'm not even reading the altars, my guy. The Maven's Invitation, item quantity, I'm not doing Maven Invitation that much. The Harvest Crafting option that applies an enchantment to a non-unique map, causing it to not consume sextant charges, has been replaced with an enchantment for non-unique maps that provides a 50% chance not to consume sextant uses. Yeah, that was the most OP stuff that a lot of people abused. It was like the way to go. So now it's probably still, but not as super mega strong. Or at least, you know, it's still... You need some investment, right? And previously you didn't even have... You had the perfect sextants and then you just, you know... Done. So yeah, now they will run out at some point. Replica unique item rewards in grand heists no longer have a higher chance than normal to spawn with a high number of sockets and or links. Why? Why? They should spawn with a higher number of sockets and links, my guy. It's super difficult to get to grand heists. Oh man. Come on. Like, I feel like imagine this as a new player. Like, yeah, you want to find a 6 link, you know, as a replica unique. That's awesome. Why wouldn't you want that? Or at least they have no longer a higher chance. I guess there's still a way, but like, I don't know. In my opinion, that should be fine. I think they also maybe see some problem with people that spam grand heists all the time. But then it's like, yeah, I guess, yeah. Divination card and Voidborn Reliquary changes. Balance of Terror can no longer be obtained from the Voidborn Reliquary. It was enabled by mistake. The Iron Bard Divination card has been re-enabled. It is now called the Rusted Bard. It now awards 4 Tainted Mythic Orbs. Okay, so maybe there's a couple of changes there. Maybe the name wasn't correct, or they wanted to change it. Looking at the Mastery's Path of Exile's passive skill tree, we realized that a lot of choices were rather bland and could be a lot more exciting. Holy crap. Okay, I'm briefly gonna look through this. Okay, gain accuracy rating equal to intelligence. Okay, in staggers. Minions accuracy rating is equal to yours. Sure. 50% increased rating at close range. Sure. Okay, kind of interesting. Might take that. 500 to... 500 accuracy rating, -2 to accuracy per level. That's whack. Armor per strength. 1 to all max res if all have armor. So that's fucking awesome. That is amazing. Yes, that makes it worth going for armor. Thank you. Increased armor per second if you have been stationary up to a maximum of 100%. That is big. That is very big. Increased armor from equipped boots and gloves. Also really nice. 100%. A lot of maths. Alright, Bing, do the math for me, dude. Chance per 5% missing energy shield to defend with 150% of armor. Wait, 2% chance per 5% missing energy to defend. So the lower my energy... Oh, so this is like for armor and energy people, of course. Yeah. Makes absolute sense. Awesome. Recover 5% of energy shield over 1 second when you take physical damage from an enemy hit. Not bleed, by the way. But yeah, that's awesome. 5% of energy shield over 1 second, so going for fat energy shield matters. 10% of armor also applies to chaos damage taken from hits. Oh, so for the armor stackers, chaos damage is then less painful. Awesome. Sweet. Of course. Don't punish the people that go full in on armor, you know. If they go and have like 70k armor, it should matter. Right? In some form, slightly. And it does, right? 10% of armor. So that's 7,000. I don't even know how the calculation will then work. But sure, you know. 100% increased armor and energy shield from, of course, everything that has armor and energy shield. Awesome. 10% of physical damage from hits taken as chaos damage. Is that double dipping? No, it's not, right? Because if you take this mastery and this mastery... defend with 120% of armor against projectile attacks, 5% more chance to evade melee attacks. Very nice. 120% chance of armor against a projectile. Awesome, because projectile is obviously the one stuff that may hurt. Also, that's against... Oh, shoot. Well, we don't know what projectile attacks are, right? Like the titty bitches from the Eat of Worlds, right? Are those attacks or spells? You know? But it would matter, maybe. Increase stun and block recovery. That's a lot. Every 4 seconds, regenerate life equal to 1% of armor and evasion rating over 1 second. That is... Oh, okay, it's every 4 seconds. Okay. Wait a second. 1% to all max res if they all have armor. But if I take this and I have armor and evasion base, that should also work. Dude, RF players are fucking creaming their pants right now, I think. They're fucking creaming their pants right now, like, Jesus Christ. Increased evasion rating if you've been hit recently. 40% increased armor if you've been hit recently. That is pretty big. Yeah, I feel like armor and evasion rating now, like an armor evasion build, makes a lot more sense. Immune to poison if equipped helmet has higher evasion rating than armor. Immune to bleeding if equipped helmet has higher armor than evasion rating. That's big. Yup. That is pretty fucking huge. That seems like we're going armor and evasion, boys. Then I don't need to care about bleeding anymore. Noise. Attack mastery, melee strike range, makes sense. Non-Val strike skills target one additional nearby enemy. Gain adrenaline for 1 second when you change stance. No one manually changes stances, I'm sorry. Yet. Maybe. Monsters cannot block your attacks. Wait, what the fuck? Okay. Interesting. I mean, I don't know how much that matters, because we don't know how many monsters can even block attacks, right? But, like, I think there's a map modifier that says monsters can block your attacks. And with this, it's like, no, they can't. Fuck you, right? It's kind of nice. 5% of increased attack speed per enemy in close range. Nearby enemies are intimidated while you have rage. Okay, interesting, interesting. See, meh, more like an HC thing. I mean, still, cannot block your attacks. Like, if you go full attack and they block your attack, that's, you know what that is? That's the same as not having full accuracy. That's what it feels like. It's so bad. Like, you literally hit an enemy, you see it hit, and nothing happens because they blocked it. And you're like, I hate you, right? That's huge. Like, if the enemy has like a 30% chance to block your attacks, that's like you have 70% accuracy. That's awful. It feels awful. And now you can just be like, no, I will hit you. Right? So you could have on your weapon, hits can't be evaded, and then you can have monsters cannot block your attacks. So everything goes through all the time. So it's pretty nice. And you can potentially take this away and maybe choose something else for boss fights, right? Where it doesn't matter. But I feel like even Eldritch bosses can have that. I think. Anyways, caster masteries. A final repeat of spells has increased area of effect. Okay. 20% more spell damage if you've been stunned while casting recently. I guess. 6% increased cast speed for each different non-instant spell you have cast recently. That's not a lot. Spells which gain intensity, okay, nothing changed. 25% chance to open nearby chests when you cast the spell. The fuck? What is this wacky mastery? What? I'm literally taking that for the memes. I'm not even joking. I'm literally taking that for the memes, you know? I'm taking this for the memes. My first, I mean, why not, you know? Cast the spell. No, you just open chests, bro. I feel like they're planning something. I feel like they're doing something. I mean, keep in mind, you know, there are a lot of people that get exalts and mirrors from chests. It's also for the people that have OCD and want to open literally every chest but don't want to click them anymore. There you go. You're welcome. Also, it should be 100%. Let's be honest. You know what they actually could add as a mastery? And I don't know, maybe it's in here. Some sort of like dexterity mastery. Where if you break objects, you get a movement speed boost like in Diablo, right? Like a tiny one. Maybe 1% for each broken thing up to a maximum of like, I don't know, 10, 15 or some stuff. That would be nice. Would be a little bit of a Diablo thing. You know. It'd feel very similar. Especially also might be nice for the people that come from Diablo and be like, oh, cool, I remember. Oh, that's the same thing with a mastery. Nice, I can go there, right? It's not active all the time. And movement speed is very powerful. But yeah, but I don't give a blank. Oh my god! That's a prediction. That's a prediction indeed on it. Yes. What were we talking about? Well, it's coming from a person who needs a lord for receiving free stuff from Lost One. Yes. I mean, it makes sense. Like, if you get mastery and you get, I guess, movement speed, it seems fine. It's not like I get loot. I got master. Okay, cool, bro. Which is a little bit whack that that's even a thing, to be honest. Nah, it kind of feels weird. Not thinking about it. It's fine. Moving on, because I want to go to bed at some point, and I have to work tomorrow. Chaos Mastery. Recover 1% of life per wither debuff on each enemy you kill. Kind of nice, maybe. +1 to maximum chaos res. Okay. Deal 10% more chaos damage to enemies which have energy shield. Very nice. 5% chance when you inflict withered to inflict up to 15 withered debuffs instead. That is fat. Potentially. Was there a random mirror of Calandra in a jar or chest? Cause Calandra flew over it and dropped it in. That's why. That's a lore explanation. We all know that. Gain 25 life per enemy hit with main hand claw attacks. Gain 25 mana per enemy hit with offhand claw attacks. Okay. Inherent attack speed bonus from dual wielding is doubled while wielding 2 claws. Jesus Christ. I mean, I have to say, those are some big changes, and I do very much want to play multiple builds now. I very much want to. So, meta shake-up, yeah. Potentially. At least for me. My personal meta. 60% increased damage with claws against enemies that are on low life. That's a lot. 10% of leech is instant per, yeah, that's per equipped claw. That means if you have 2 claws, you have a 20% of leech is instant. That is insane to think about. It's instant. That's like a flask, 24/7, just brrrr. What? But it's definitely cock. Dude, I love cock. Oh my god, cock is the best. What? 50% increased stealth if you have hit a claw recently. If you have hit with a claw recently, not if you hit a claw. That might be a different skill. Literally, what the heck is stealth? You know what? Yes. It's interesting that they looked at Claw Mastery and were like, yeah, we're gonna leave the Night Blade. That's the one we leave. Everything else, throw it out. What is the same ideas? Yeah, they'll figure it out, bro. Yeah, just alt in the game. 40%. I actually love how Chris literally says the login meme. It's the best thing ever. I'm so glad he's up to date. I feel like Bex is just updating him on the community memes on a weekly basis or something, right? Current memes in the Path of Exile subreddit, you know, and just a list of things. I feel like that's the communication Chris has with Bex sometimes. It's so good. Oh, bless. 40% of physical damage converted to cold, classic. 10% chance to inflict cold exposure on hit with cold damage. That's nice. Enemies near targets you shatter have 20% chance to be covered in frost. Nice. Max cold. Res. Chills from your hits always reduce action speed by at least 10%. That's also really nice. That slows enemies down. Enemies permanently take 5% increased damage for each second they have ever been frozen by you, up to a maximum of 50. They have ever been frozen by you. So bigger freezes, more damage. But bigger freezes are possible by bigger damage. So you need to invest in damage to freeze longer to then do more damage. I guess it's a reward for dealing a lot of damage. That's fine. Dagger masteries. So they're frozen but are no longer frozen. They still take the damage. Yeah, of course. I mean, that would suck if it isn't. Yeah, ever been frozen by you. Ever been frozen, yeah. So it's perfect for really tanky rare mobs or metamorphs or I mean, we have no idea what's going to happen in Crucible, you know. Yeah. So we to get frozen from chilling and stuff, I think. Oh yeah, isn't there like the chill ailment maybe increased effect or something, and maybe that has a frozen thingy, you know? Or maybe there's some wacky stuff where enemies frozen by 0.5 seconds when hit recently, or whatever, you know? Or when hit, then not up to 4 seconds again, or I don't know. There are probably some wacky combinations, but it's good, you know? It's literally do more cold damage, freeze enemies longer, deal more damage afterwards. It's fine. Perfect for rare mobs. Rare mobs, right? Which are usually the problem. Not like the peons, the fodder. Dagger masteries. Most of this actually didn't change. Increased projectile speed while wielding a dagger. Huh. Projectile speed. Boys, we playing Cobra Lash. Elemental Masteries. New are 50% reduced effect of exposure on you. That's pretty nice. I'll take that. Yeah, sure. Hits have 25% chance to treat enemy monster elemental resistance value as inverted. What the fuck? Bro, did they just look at Kalandra and were like, Omega lol reversed. Mirrored, boys. What the fuck? That's insane. Isn't that insane? I'm assuming it's Venom Guy and Cobra stuff, yeah. Hello? So instead of plus 60, it has minus 60? What the fuck? The impale. Oh my god, impale. I'm gonna impale. Anyhow. Critical strikes against you do not inherently inflict ailments. That's very nice at the beginning of a league where you can't get full ailment immunity. Awesome. Also don't... Dude, no. They now use you do not inherently inflict. You know, they... What is inherently? Just give me the number. Just 4 seconds. Or 20% less. Or... We're using inherently as a word now. This is the new nerd boys. No, I'm kidding. Okay, I'm memeing a little bit. 3% of 3%. Sorry, 3% chance for hits to deal 300% of physical damage as extra damage of a random element. Elemental hit, boys, is back on the menu. Potentially. 10% less physical damage taken while on full energy shield. Awesome. Sweet. 30% of chaos damage taken does not bypass energy shield. Alright. 100% increased energy shield from equipped helmet. Bro, if they bring out a full set of gear that is now armor, can't talk anymore, armor, evasion, and energy shield on all equipped items, bro, that is the most busted fucking build in this entire video game at this point. If they bring that out, ever. Boots, helmets, gloves. Yes. Bro, that would be busted, my guy. That would be busted. Or some wacky way to be like, add an implicit of a, like, add a random implicit to a different base, and now you can have energy shield on a evasion armor base as an implicit or some crazy stuff, and now suddenly masteries just all open up to you, right? Because technically you have energy shield from an equipped helmet if you can somehow add an implicit to a helmet that has actually armor and evasion, but now also energy. It would be crazy. Elemental with Void Forge, kind of crazy. I actually never used that, but yeah. Yeah, there would be some absolutely insane stuff the moment they drop anything related to that. Getting energy shield to any base that wouldn't have energy. Like, that would literally brick. I mean, they wouldn't need to make this so brutally powerful, or I mean, so brutally rare. Like, you will have to, you know, like, that needs some sort of... I don't know. Maybe balance that one if you ever do it. Evasion masteries, 50% chance, 15% chance to suppress spell damage if equipped helmet all have evasion rating. So yeah, that's fucking busted. That is, yup. Boys, we playing evasion and armor this league. We playing evasion and armor, boys. Let's go. Log in, boys. Log in. Evasion and energy shield masteries. Increased maximum energy shield if both equipped rings have evasion modifiers. And 40% increased energy shield recharge rate if equipped amulet has an evasion modifier. Ooh, so you can have both things. You can get 20% increased max energy shield and 40% increased energy shield recharge rate. That's big. Increased evasion rating if energy shield recharge has started in the past 2 seconds. Okay. So if you start dodging, you know, stuff. Okay. Increased evasion rating. Sorry, 1% increased evasion rating per 5 intelligence, dexterity. Per 5 intelligence. Dexterity provides no inherent bonus to evasion rating. Okay. Don't see something right now, but I'm also... My brain is slowly fried, and we're not even halfway through, I think. Kill me now. Bing, help me. Every 4 seconds, regenerate energy shield equal to 1% of evasion rating over 1 second. Every 4 seconds... Okay, sure. Mine is gone. Rip. Fire exposure, blah, 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 blah. Burning enemies you kill have a 3% chance to explode, dealing of... That's fucking busted. Jesus Christ. Bro, if I had that with my EK Ignite build, I would have cummed. Sorry. Cum, you know, only, you know, no, cum detected, boys. When I read that one. I think the word of the day is busted. Yes. It's busted, boys. 5% increased damage. That is busted. Yeah, I'm becoming like Quinn right now. He sees any changes to, I don't know, bone shed or whatever, and he's like, oh my god, it's the most busted. 50% chance to refresh ignite duration on crit strike. That's cool. Regenerates 1 life per second for each 1% uncapped fire res. Okay. Sure, okay. Critical strikes do not inherently ignite. 100% increased damage with hits against ignited enemies. Oh, okay. It all works a little bit differently. Okay. So you don't want to go on the ignite. So ignite still matters because you want the damage, but you don't want to deal damage with the ignite. You want to deal damage with the hits. Okay. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Okay. Interesting. But maybe I should make it even bigger. So, flask masteries. Life flasks gain 1 charge per... blah, 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 blah. Okay, I have to look. Where am I? So anyways, this has got them busted. This is awesome. This is super cool. I would have loved to have that at EK Ignite. That would have, like, literally changed my mapping experience. Like, massively. 20% chance to gain a flash charge when you deal a crit strike. Awesome. So you go full crit and you always have flash charges. Poggies. Enemies you kill that are affected by elemental ailments go around 100% increased flash charges. Okay. Full armor, full evasion build. Pathfinder Val Ice Shot. Ooh boy. Ooh baby. Ooh. You have no problem with suppressed spell damage anymore. You have every of these busted masteries. Bruh. Yep, Soul Eater plus cock. Yes. With the Soul Thirst belt. We read Soul Eater earlier about something. I don't know what it was. I think it's a Crucible node. Or whatever you want to call it. Is it Crucible node or Crucible passive skill point thing? Whatever. Yes. Fortify masteries. Recover 4% of life when you use a flask. That's nice. Recover 100 life for each fortification lost. Gain 20 fortification on melee kill against a rare or unique enemy. That's kill, not hit. Because I don't need the fortification after I killed it, guys. I need it during it. 2% reduced duration of ailments inflicted on you per fortification. Okay, that's kind of nice. So it rewards if you go full fortification. 4% increased stun and block recovery for fortification. And we skip the rest. Impale masteries. Chance of 10% chance on hitting an enemy for all impales on that enemy to last for an additional hit. I don't know enough about Impale. Yes, I played Impale Shockwave Cyclone. But just barely. I think Crucible passed it. Okay. A. Yes, Anif. A. Ah. No, it's a Gura meme. He's a VTuber, boys. He's a VTuber enjoyer. Is that a word? 20% chance to hit. Sorry, 20% chance on hit to remove all impales from enemy. Impales removed this way multiply their reflected damage for this hit by the number of hits they have left. So you take both masteries and you're good, or because you remove more than you put on, right? So I'm not quite sure how you do that. Oh, if you hit a lot. So you want to hit a lot of times, I guess. To constantly be like on, off, on, off, on, off, on, just. Okay, interesting. This also got them busted. I said busted again. 10% of leech is instant. I love that. That's so good. Just yes. 40% increased armor and evasion rating while leeching. That's nice. 25% more damage with hits against enemies that cannot have life leached from them. Wait, 25% more damage with hits against enemies that cannot have life. Okay. 25% of damage taken recouped as life if leech was removed by filling unreserved life recently. Jesus. 25% increased maximum total life, mana, and energy shield recovery per second from leech. Bro. Screw Pathfinder. I'm just gonna go full duelist, my dude. The duelist that has leeching, you go full. Jesus Christ. The increase inconsistent damage is really good. Yeah. But that's insane. So Slayer, I guess. I don't know. Is it Slayer? I think it's Slayer. So Slayer, Ice Shot, Val Ice Shot, Armor Evasion. You get the suppressed spell damage from the mastery. You get suppressed spell is lucky early on, which is just sounds disgusting. You get leech, which is instant, so you have your recovery sold more or less. What the fuck? Anyhow, moving on. A lot of stuff happening. 60% increased critical strike chance against enemies with lightning exposure. That's a lot. Damn. Lightning damage of enemies hitting you while you're shocked is unlucky. Ooh, so that's for like self-shocked guys. Nice. Oh, but it's only for lightning damage of enemies hitting you. So it's like, okay, bro. I guess. Anyway. Life masteries. 10% more maximum life if you have at least 6 life masteries allocated. 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh? Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so you need all of them. Okay, got it. Understood. Got it. Alright. Woof. 10%, 15%. Wow, how do you count? I missed this one because this one is so small. You know, I was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, I just because this one was so small. Like if you actually look at them, all of them are like massively long now. This is like 50 life. 15% increased maximum life if there are no life modifiers on equipped body armor. Yeah, so that's the tabula rasa way. Love it. You count as on low life while at 55% of maximum life or below. You count as full life while at 90% of maximum life or above. Skills cost life instead of 30% of mana cost. Sorry, I read this really wrong. Skills cost life instead of 30% of mana cost. That sounds weird, but that's just a built-in, what is it called? Like a life thingy, right? That's like a, what is it called? The life thingy that you get in like Act 1 or whatever, right? That we sometimes used. That's just a support gem. Or, right? I don't know, instead of 30% of mana cost. Wait, so it costs 30% less? Wait, what? How busted is this life mastery? I mean, you have to accept that you use your life now instead of mana, but might cost 30% off the mana of the spell as life. Oh, okay, so it's... Wait, skills cost... I gotta read this again. Skills cost life instead of 30% of mana cost. Oh, so you still... Bro, this is whack. 30% of mana cost of the skill as life. Huh? You're actually confusing me. Give me a realistic example. If I use... Yeah, the word is so word. So if I use 100 mana to cast my attack all the time. Let's just say 100 mana to make it easy. Meaning 33 life is being used to cast it on top of the 100 mana. Like if a spell cost 100 mana, it would now cost 70 mana plus 30 life. Okay, so it's split. Okay, I thought it's 100% mana and 30% on top of that as life. For some weird, wacky, you know, combination or stuff. Okay. Maybe. Okay. That sounds more reasonable. Right. That I guess is a good way to kind of balance high mana cost, right? If you can somehow be like, well, I have a lot of life leech, and I have all this life that I don't use. I can just use it, yeah, to kind of help myself with mana issues. So it's kind of nice though, right? Like imagine you play Cyclone. Now 30% of that mana cost is just on your life. That's huge. So you may not need, yeah, thinking more like sustain, yeah, low mana channeling skill like Cyclone. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Or any skill, to be honest. Like if you can just sustain your life. Awesome. Good. Moving on. Links take twice as long to break. That's good. Link skills, link... Oh my god. Link skills, link... God, I hate Path of Exile sometimes, and sometimes it's just amazing, the wording. Link skills link to one additional random link. Target. Link's Snorefest. Linked targets share endurance frenzy. Yes, thank God that's a thing. That should have been a thing like 18 months ago. Your movement speed is equal to the highest movement speed among linked players. God, that's good. Yes, that fixes the issue with movement speed issues. My God, that's amazing. That's so good. That is so... No, it's not OP. That's actually the base that everyone should have in a party now. Because it's so good. Because that fixes the issue with party members, right? Like, you're in the party, and one is always faster than the other. That will 99% happen. And it just sucks. It just sucks. And now, it's even better if you do the typical, alright, I'm the melee guy, you're the range guy, right? The typical Marauder Ranger combo, right? They're in a party, they're starting, they play Path of Exile for the first time, and find that one. And they're like, bro, I got a lot of movement speed, let's go, bro, right? And just, got the synergy. Yeah, but you can just spec one party member for speed. Yeah, exactly. You can go full Ranger, has a whole ton of speed, and tailwind and everything, and the other guy is also like, la 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 la, just, yes, awesome. God, I hope it works with Tailwind. Please, for the love of God. Please, for the love of God, work. But yeah, that's all. That's great. That's awesome. That fixes... I wouldn't say that 100% fixes, but that is like... Yes. Like, I feel like we're maybe 70-80% there for party members to kind of feel balanced at the same time. And I feel like links are perfect for that, yeah. That's awesome. It costs, of course, the linked skill, like a linked skill and a gem, but it's also just one gem, and we're gonna have like 46 links or something in Path of Exile 2. That's at least what it feels like. So, who cares? Regenerate 5 mana per second. Poggers. 12% increased mana reservation. Yo, they're bringing it back. Let's go. Dude, they're bringing it back, boys. Holy fuck. We are taking that. So we are taking that with every character. Holy fuck, dude. Log in, boys. We are logging in, dude. The mana reservation efficiency is back on the menu. Holy fuck. There are like only 2 link circle for mastery. What? I think they're 2 now. Maybe 3 now. They're much better because it's mana mastery and not the reservation mastery. Yeah. So you gotta take some mana stuff, which I don't mind. I feel like some mana stuff is actually pretty nice. I feel like some mana stuff is anyways like, you gain mana per kill. I'm like, yeah, sounds fucking awesome. Yeah, I want mana per kill, like on the right side of the tree, like, why did you open here? It probably has like 17 updates. I haven't opened this in like a decade now. Anyhow, blob blob, this one right here, boom. Recover 2% of mana on kill. Boom, take it. Boom, mana mastery. Let's pogging go. Yes. Just awesome. Take it. And you're off to a good start. So good. That's so much closer to start. That's so good. Yes. Ooh. You gain 5% increased area of effect for each. Oh, never mind. I thought of seismic trap. It's a mine, guys. It's a mine. Don't worry about it. It's not a trap. It's mines. Okay. Okay, I just died. Nearly hit me there, dude. A marked enemy cannot regenerate life. That's big against bosses. Marked enemy cannot deal critical strikes. That's really strong. Your mark transfers to another enemy when marked enemy dies. That is literally an ascendancy as a mastery. Good. Well, now you just need to automatically, just mark on hit and Omega lol. Nice. Increased accuracy rating against marked enemies. Nice. Lol, Madman. Who? Mad who? Physical masteries. 10% more maximum physical attack damage. Alright. Cannot be stunned by hits that deal only physical damage. I feel like there's some wacky uniques where you can just convert all the damage to physical. And you're like, I'm good. You know? Hits have 40% chance to ignore enemy monster physical damage reduction. That's big. Plus 6% to damage over time multiplier for bleeding or per impale on enemy. Ha! Impale bleed now. Impale bleed builds. Alright. Enemies poisoned by you cannot deal critical strikes. Awesome. So that's for the... That is a nice defensive option for poison builds. Sweet. 65% chance... Sorry, 65% reduced effect of Withered on you. Oh, it's protection mastery, not resistance and ailment. Okay. Your elemental resistances cannot be lowered by curses. It's also pretty big. Damaging ailments cannot be inflicted on you while you already have one. Non-damaging ailments cannot be inflicted on you while you already have one. Can you have both at the same time? I think you can. Yes, you definitely do elemental damage conversion. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like they're again, you know, Path of Exile is a game of choice, and the choices are huge. Just by reading all this, like I literally could take Cannot Be Mimed, Corrupted Blood, Elemental Resistances, and potentially this one. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 masteries, potentially 3 masteries now, but I can't have all of them. Like, this will be impossible to have. Right? It's insane. Getting Corrupted Blood immunity, you have to corrupt it. Can't get stacks. Yeah. It's actually interesting. You know what they're kind of doing? Like, not... I'm pretty sure they aren't doing this on purpose, but you know what this means? They're pulling you away from the cluster jewels. They're pulling us away from it, right? Because you live in the skill tree now. More and more and more and more over the past 2-3 years now. Because of all these changes. You still look into cluster jewels. Because they're clusters, right? They're very powerful. But like, You may not need to much longer, especially with all these potential things. I feel like maybe for if you want to have like fat damage, you probably still need clusters. But if you're okay with less damage and maybe more quality of life or more defense, I feel like you don't need it anymore. Maybe. Right? Or maybe not like a super crazy cluster jewel setup. Right? Maybe you have like the medium one, right? Or a medium here and a medium there, or maybe one large and two mediums, and then you're pretty much done. But like they really want it easier to stack maximum ras. Yeah, good. It's also really nice. Recovery masteries. 3% chance to recover all life when you kill an enemy. Excuse you, what the fuck is that? Do you know how many monsters we constantly kill in this video game, bro? Jesus Christ. Life recoup effects instead occur over 3 seconds. Okay. Every 3 seconds, consume a nearby corpse to recover 10%. Okay. So, quick question. It's gonna be a lot more interesting in Path of Exile 2. But if I can automate it... Bro, this is actually amazing for minions. Devouring Diadem, I don't even know what Devouring Diadem does. But it's like, you know, for minions, because they can automate the... You can trigger, right, the stuff through the wand. What is it? Desecrate, right? It's awesome for them. It's so good. I feel like they really wanted to use it, especially for Breach. Nearby enemies have 50% reduced life regeneration rate. I feel like we had this before. Life recovery from regeneration is not applied. Every 4 seconds, recover 1 life for every 0.1 life recovery per second from regeneration. Literally no idea what that means. Cool. Regenerate 50 life per second. I understand what that means. It's better to consume corpse. Yeah. Reservation masteries. There's only 1 new things. +1 to all maximum elemental resistances if you have reserved life and mana. It's kind of nice. Nice. Because you probably have that a little bit. Potentially. Like, just slap a vitality on your life and... Or a banner, or who knows. Prevent 3% of suppressed spell damage. Oh yeah, spell suppression master is probably busted. Inflict fire, cold, and lightning exposure on enemies when you suppress their spell damage. Yeah, that sounds totally not... Yes. All 3 of them at the same time. Bro, elemental hit, holy. Anyhow. This makes me... Yes, I feel like I'm starting... Yeah, okay, yeah. You know what I said about earlier with, like... You know? Duelist, Val Ice Shot. Sounds better and better every second. Prevent 1% of suppressed spell damage per hit suppressed recently. -2 chance to suppress spell damage per hit suppressed recently. What? Prevent 1% of suppressed spell damage per hit suppressed recently. Is that a way to balance it? So you have less chance, but the suppressed damage is more. Is that it? So if you get hit many times in a row, the chance to suppress more of them over time goes down, but you increase the suppressed spell damage. So they want you to overcap in suppressed spell damage chance to use this effectively. Because if you have 20% overcapped, but not sure if it minus the uncap or cap. That's a good point, yeah. But potentially if you're 20%, oh yeah, that's a good point, because I don't know if it goes beyond. because I think it only looks at like 100%. Either way, potentially, if you have 120, you can take 10 hits in the last 4 seconds, which is quite a bit. That's 10 hits, a lot of hits. But you increase your suppressed spell damage, or you suppress 10% more spell damage. Well, on the last hit, that is. Math. It is just so good, but I'm glad to catch up. Yes, and if I love you too. Okay. Suppressed spell damage cannot inflict elemental ailments on you. Yes. You have phasing if you have suppressed spell damage. If you have suppressed spell damage. It sounds so weird. If you suppressed. Not if you have suppressed. If you suppressed. Right? The have sounds so wrong. But I think it's kind of correct. Because suppressed spell damage is like its thing. Anyhow. It sounds wrong. 8% chance to suppress spell damage while phasing. So it gives you that chance on top of that. Okay. And of course, the most busted thing in this goddamn video game, chance to suppress spell damage is lucky. Yes. I mean, it doesn't matter probably long term, but at the beginning, if you take this, bro, you have... Game is easy mode at this point. I mean, technically the game is RNG. So yeah. But you can take this from the earliest point until... I don't know, a week or two in, when your character starts to kind of, you know, come together at league start, and then you can just take this away and use this for something else. But yeah, this is like awesome at the beginning, in my opinion. Stun masteries. I'm just gonna look past them because I'm not into stuns. Trap masteries. 8% chance for traps to trigger an additional time. Sounds nice. Two-hand masteries. Ruthless hits. Intimidate enemies for 4 seconds. Sounds a little bit weak. Warcry masteries. Warcries cannot exert travel skills. Remove all damaging elements when you Warcry. That's kind of nice. Warcries have 10% chance to exert 3 additional attacks. Okay, interesting. Removed masteries. No. Sag. That's fine. Passive skill cluster changes. Okay, I'm not gonna look through those because that's just like... Yeah, okay. Stuff happened. I mean, I think they mentioned what it was previously, but bro, I don't have a head for that at close to 1 a.m. Also want to eat and sleep today. Saboteur stuff. Pathfinder stuff. Ascendant. Actually, interesting that Ascendant was here, because I think it mentioned Ascendant earlier. Yeah, there it was. Passive skill, 3 classes, Ascendancy classes, and they mentioned Ascendant. I was like, wait, what is it? But yeah, it's probably just the Pathfinder and Saboteur changes, right? Yeah, of these reworks. Okay, makes sense. Early game changes, new gems. We've added 3 new support gems. Mana Forge, Prismatic Burst. The large chest on Twilight Strand now contains Prismatic Burst support for Scion. Ah, so they changed that. Right. As the 3 combat-focused unique jewels are able to interact with this new Prismatic Burst support, they now provide 10 to 15 increased elemental damage instead of 10 to 15 increased elemental damage with attack skills. Oh, so it's more broad. Okay. The only thing you might want to look after is Arcade Search and Molten Shell. Where's that skill balance? Okay. Momentum support for Ranger, previously Pierce. Oh, interesting. They actually removed Pierce. Which, to be honest, wasn't meme anyways. At the beginning. Momentum support is now purchasable from Nessa by the Ranger and Scion for completing the enemy at the gate. Momentum support is now offered to the Marauder, Templar, Duelist, Shadow for completing Mercy Mission and can be purchased from Nessa. Pierce support is now offered to the Ranger for completing Mercy Mission in addition to Shadow, Duelist, and Scion and can be purchased from Nessa. Snipe is now offered to the Ranger for completing Breaking the Seal and can be purchased from Pataris and Bunja by the Duelist. Oh, so this is later. This is in Act 4. Interesting. Okay. It's kind of huge. I mean, I already used Molten Shell, so... And Val Molten Shell. I think it's kind of like a must-have. Onslaught support. In an effort to make wider variety of builds competitive for leveling, we initially considered broadening the use cases for Onslaught support in order to allow more builds to use it. This will result in Onslaught becoming a mandatory link for almost every build to level faster. This would still mean that the few remaining builds that could not make use of Onslaught support would be at a speed disadvantage in the early game. This eventually led to the conclusion that the removal of the support gem and the addition of a number of new support gems to support more interesting early playstyles was the correct route to try to broaden the playing field. The styles lower the early game movement speed potential of some builds, placing more reliance on gear and passive tree choices to invest into movement speed. Onslaught support has been removed, and new momentum support gem has been added in its place. Items that previously granted Onslaught support, such as the Forbidden Shackle and Hungry Loop unique items, now instead grant momentum support. Interesting. Attack and bow-based leveling. In order to better support early attack and bow-based leveling, faster attacks, support, and various mark skills have had their level lowered, adjusting their values to be appropriate for the new levels. These gems still scale to the same or very similar values in the endgame. I'm fine, never use Onslaught support. I actually start using it a lot when we did the whole, let me try this random skill from Act 1 to 4. Onslaught is just actually goddamn insane. Like the amount of movement speed you get from it, like 20%, is huge, right? So, yeah. Skip the bowl, I mean, it's just number changes at low level. I mean, it's also kind of interesting. I mean, okay, it's just fast attacks, which I barely use. Sniper's Mark, which doesn't really matter. Warlord's Mark, Poacher's Mark, Sniper's Mark. It's just offered now, I guess, to the Duelist. Duelist! You know, it's actually perfect, because you know what I want? Want to play Duelist and play iShot. Let's go. It's good to know. What was that? Lost in Love. Oh, Lost in Love is actually... Oh my god, that's a really late quit. Wait a second. They put Sniper's Mark from Act 3 to Act 1? Holy mother of God. They just have more power early on. Jesus Christ. That's an insane damage increase. That's like getting a curse in Act 1. You're like, what the fuck just happened? It's like, holy mother of God. That's huge. Alright. Scepters. Scepters are meant to be more caster-oriented than their one-handed mace counterparts. It didn't make sense that many early-game Scepters bases had significantly fast attack speeds than one-handed maces. These Scepter bases have had their base attack speed values lowered and physical damage values buffed to compensate. You just said they're caster-oriented. Buff their caster modifiers. Just, bro. Just give them a higher... Dude, I pray to God for one day for modifiers on items to be a complete massive overhaul. I am praying to God. The only two things I probably want when they come to modifiers on bases is you should have a higher chance hitting a modifier on a base where it fucking matters, first of all. And second, the modifiers on bases, lower tier modifiers, depends... No, you lose the chance to roll low tier modifiers on higher tier bases. Those are the two changes I would love, and it would fix so much with the crafting. It would definitely make it a billion times more easy. But my God, that would make this so much easier to craft. At least decent items, right? They don't need to like kill everything below tier 3, right? But if I see 8 life on a body armor that is like item level 83, I'm a destroy myself. I think the buff the implicit on elemental damage. Okay. Did they? I don't see that, but maybe there is something. Anyhow, just thought I'd throw this in here. Want and vendor recipe changes. Bro, I can't remember these. Nope. I've never... Dude, Shaggy's always like, yo, dude, you gotta do it. Yeah, sure. You know, I never read those. I just never do. I just never do that. I never do those recipes. In an effort to have cast speed still available early for casters who want to invest into it in their support links, Arcane Surge now grants cast speed instead of more spell damage. Changes to Hierophant and Ascendant, as well as minor changes to Arcane Surge related passives on the tree, have been made to account for this. Arcane Surge support no longer causes Arcane Surge to grant more spell damage. Instead, it now causes Arcane Surge to grant 10% increased cast speed at gem level 1, scaling up to 20% at gem level 20. Supported skills also now deal 10% more spell damage while you have Arcane Surge at gem level 1, unchanged, up to 25% at gem level 20, previously 19. Okay. It's kind of the same, just cast speed. Okay. Alright. Yeah. Okay. No. Oh, because Arcane Surge gave more spell damage broadly like a global mod, yeah. I mean, it's up to 25% instead of 19. I mean, that's a 6% multi, right? The spell damage, that's big. Cast speed is gonna make things feel better, because a lot of people, I think, are just bitching about the speed of Spark and spells being slow and not strong. And now if you have Arcane Surge, they are faster and still strong, so that's nice. Or at least probably as strong. Hierophant's Arcane Blessing Ascendancy passive skill no longer provides 50% increased effect on Arcane Surge on you. Instead, it now provides Arcane Surge grants 20% more spell damage to you. Okay, so that is now being moved to that. Makes sense. Or maybe even a buffed version of it. If you play Hierophant, which I barely do, but sure. The small passives prior to Arcane Blessing and Illuminated Devotion both now provide 20% increased effect of Arcane Surge on you, previously 10. Alright, so they just buffed that. The Ascendant's Hierophant Ascendancy passive skill no longer provides 25% increased effect of Arcane Surge on you. Instead, it now provides Arcane Surge grants 10% more spell damage to you. Okay, so... So you have a 30% if you take the small node and then the big one after that, or something like this, I guess. The small, I literally don't know the Hierophant. Like, I literally don't even know what it looks like. The small passive skill prior to the Arcane Capacitor Notable passive skill that provides mana and Arcane Surge effect now provides 20% increased effect previously then. So I'm just skipping over this stuff now. The entry small passive skill for this cluster also now has 20% increased effect. Okay. Just a lot of Arcane Surge. Yeah, it's just bots. It's just bots. Sure, I mean, it's good. You know, if you Arcane Surge support now makes a lot more sense to potentially level, and not only to have at level 1, but even at level 1, it's 10% cast speed. So, well, it's nice. 10%. It was good. It was good to have like a 10%, and, but for the second cast, right? Or maybe third and fourth cast, but probably second cast. Right? So, you will probably live with Arcane Surge for a long time, but maybe long term, I can see it not being too important right later on in a 6 link, but early on, sure, 10% with Spark or some other spell potentially. Because the damage was already there with spells, I think. What's the speed? Oh my god. How deep are we? Oh, Jesus. Stunning enemies has become too trivial with the amount of hit damage the majority of players regularly deal. To combat this, we have made it harder to stun enemies with hits for almost all skills. However, since melee relies on stuns more than other archetypes of survivability, the ability for melee attacks to stun enemies has remained untouched. So they have 2 different calculations now. Jesus Christ. Makes it even more difficult again. Molten Shell currently outperforms other guard skills without much investment. We've reduced the amount of damage the buff provided by Molten Shell Molten Shell can take to bring the skill more in line with other guard skills. Molten Shell now has buff can take damage equal to 10% of your armor up to a maximum of 5,000 at all gem levels. Previously 20%. Okay, so it's at a maximum of 10,000. So it's half. Okay. While Molten Shell now has buff can take damage equal to 20% of your armor up to a maximum of 10,000, and previously it was 30 and 30,000. So that was not halved, but it was well, technically the maximum is now 1/3, and yeah, the 30 is now 20. Yeah. Still, I cannot imagine in a world where I do not want to have that, especially if I go full armor. Like, I literally cannot. Like, even if you don't do full armor, right? It's so good. This Val Molten Shell, even Val Molten Shell is just like, oh lol, boop. Done. Yeah. Equal to 20% of your armor. I mean, of course, if you have armor. That's a good point. Determination, lol. Just determination. Especially now with the mana reservation efficiency, boys. Log in. I just didn't see why they didn't give it own tab part. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess Molten Shell changes. Miscellaneous. I don't know. Animated weapons no longer randomly pause when moving or attacking. As a result of this change, we've adjusted the attack speed and damage provided by the animate weapon gem. This should be a net neutral change in terms of damage dealt, but result in a more consistent damage and clearing. Animate weapon now grants minions deal 0% more damage at gem level 1, previously 10. What? Scaling up to 38, previously. They nerfed animate weapon after they made an Val animate weapon. Those changes to their behavior need to be poggies, dude. It also now grants minions have 0% more attack speed. Thanks. Scaling up to 38. Okay. They need to be so pogging out. It better be. Basic animation canceling. We'll see about that. We'll see about that. I mean, I'm pretty sure Gasty will give us a update on that at some point. Totem spawned by players are now killed upon player death. Okay, interesting. So you can't have a totem that does all the damage and you die. That's good. Now, can we also do the same for enemies that spawn anything? Should be a couple if value. The bow attacks fire an additional arrow synthesis implicit modifier can no longer roll on bows. Holy fuck! Rip. F, boys. You can no longer create books of regression. Existing unused books of regression will be destroyed when 3. What the hell? What is books of regression again? Characters level. Oh, the character level. So they removed that. Okay. I mean, sure, if they want to. It's niche and weird, yeah. From like infinite heist thing. Ah, I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Sure, fuck them. Increase the level at which surveyors compasses can appear, as they were dropping well before awakened sextants could appear. Okay, good. Nice balance. The elders, hunters, veiled, and crafted belt modifiers that provided a chance for flasks you use to not consume charges can no longer roll. Goddamn. More of that. Monster balance. The unique item drop chances for Katarina, Master of Undeath, have been rebalanced. Okay, maybe more. Kind of a peep. Yeah. It's good. I never used it. The powerful. I just don't really care about the whole Veiled Hunter and Eldamar. I'm like, don't really want to like spend 1 billion hours to get this. Yeah, fuck. No. The powerful minions monster. I know, some people do it. It's fine. The powerful minions or monster modifier has been split into 2 different modifiers. Powerful minions, which buffs the life and damage of minions, and constantly revives minions, which, well, constantly revives minions. Thanks for that information. Kitava's Heralds in the Lava Lake boss now spawn as magic inside. Thank you! Oh my god, they fucking did it, boys. Ruthless can be played again. The fucking Lava Lake area is not busted anymore. Jesus Christ, that was the most toxic map to have as tier 1. That literally was the reason I stopped playing Ruthless. Because I was like, nope, I don't want to play this map. I literally do not want to do this map. I literally couldn't. They should also probably decrease the goddamn spawn rate of minions or monsters. But it's fine. The rare monster... Oh my god, my voice is going to be gone tomorrow. Which is bad because I need to do a voiceover cause video. The rare monster... Oh, Jesus Christ, I need to make another video tomorrow. Fuck me, I'm going to be in editing hell for the next 2 days. Anyways, the rare monster modifier that triggers purple crystals when the monster is hit now has larger crystals. And the crystals have a slightly longer delay before exploding after the monster dies. The crystals now deal chaos damage instead of elemental damage and have had their damage lowered. Yeah, fuck that modifier. Bro, these crystals need to be massive, my guy. They need to be gigantic to see. Anyways, Ruthless specific changes. We scroll past that one, boys. User interface changes. I love these. Added an option to hide your account's email address on the Path of Exile login screens. Can be found. Oh, very nice. Very good. Added an option to disable tutorials for characters you access. Oh, so this is an option to disable tutorials account-wide. That's nice. So you don't need to click it every single time. Awesome. The oils probably is my guess. Sorry, little like the yeah, the crystal fire guard. I hate him so much. So keep seeing the Katarina helmet 50/50. I'm good. The oils required for anointing a passive skill are now also displayed. Yes, we saw this in the screenshot. Very nice. Perfect for colorblind people. Yes. Both Lily Roth and Siosa's shop tabs are now color-coded. Color coding in my Path of Exile video game? Damn, boys. Jesus. We have arrived. It is indeed 2023. I'm being a bit mean here, but yeah, no, it's great. You know, step by step, color code the entire video game, please. Added the ability to release captured beasts through the bestiary panel. I will not play bestiary until I can't bulk trade, bulk itemize, or bulk release the same goddamn beast. No. If I can capture 20 beasts in a goddamn map, I should be able to at least bulk 20 beasts at the same time. My opinion. If you allow me to hoard monsters, you should allow me to, just release them. A massive wave, potentially. Good. Item filter changes. Added a new has implicit mod condition for item filters, which can be used to filter by items that have at least one implicit modifier. Okay. Bug fixes. I think I'm not going to read through that, because that's a lot of stuff. Omega lol. Wait, that was the good part about it though. Wait, wasn't that? Fix the bug where the Searing Exarch Eldritch Altar modifier, which provided increased quantity and rarity of items found in the area, had an increased quantity value range. It has been updated to 10 to 20, previously 10 to 30, to match the Eat of Worlds. I feel like that was also on purpose. Because keep in mind, I played a lot of Searing Exarch and Eat of Worlds to kind of see their changes, right? And, yeah, Searing Exarch all the way, boys. There is really no reason for me to play Eat of Worlds if the minions take 1 billion years to spawn. Nah. Nope, can't do. Fix the visual bug. Fix the visual bug. Would pop out of existence. I've never seen that one. And I've used Hydrosphere. Fix an issue where Charge Dash's description did not mention it requires a melee weapon to use. That's a fair point. Fix the bug where the animate weapon skill gem description incorrectly stated it was possible to animate 6 socket weapons. If specifically targeted, it is unable to animate 6 socket weapons. Alright. Sure. Alright. Finally done. Let's go! I'm amazed your willingness to give away to doubters. Let's go on it. God, I love it. Anyways, boys, refunding Diablo 4, boys. It is happening today. I'm kidding. I haven't even bought it. Obviously. Because no.